A memory begins in a macabre study filled with books and skulls. An elderly man, Romberg, gives a final, solemn instruction to Ike. He warns that the Demon King will not forgive revealing his true identity. A close-up shows Ike's single, strikingly human eye beneath the mask. This was not just advice, it was Romberg's final will. The title page reveals the central secret. The strongest magician is a human. The scene shifts to a massive, formidable human fortress. Its main gate is suddenly obliterated in a cataclysmic explosion. A horde of orcs charges, roaring for the slaughter to begin. The fortress courtyard becomes a maelstrom of violence and death. Human soldiers scream as they are mercilessly cut down by the invaders. An orc swings his weapon, continuing the brutal slaughter. An overhead view shows the sheer scale of the one-sided massacre. Smoke rises from the now-conquered fortress, the battle over. Inside, a human commander stands alone, awaiting the inevitable. Hearing a sound, he turns with a grim, resigned expression. A blood-splattered, cloaked figure appears in the grand doorway. The commander knows who it is, stating there's no need for names. He identifies the skeletal figure as the Demon King's trusted strategist. The strategist, Ike, remains silent, his skull-like face impassive. Ike informs the defeated commander that he has 3 options left. The first 2 are to surrender or to die with honor by suicide. The commander listens intently as Ike prepares to offer a third choice. Ike suggests he could secretly escape while he pretends to be distracted. The commander's expression hardens, his pride refusing such an offer. He finds such mercy far too docile for a demon's henchman. Declaring he chooses neither, he lunges forward to attack. Ike's eyes narrow from the shadows of his hood, having expected this. He calmly prepares to counter the attack, finding it predictable. He unleashes a spell called Raging Storm from his serpent-headed staff. The commander's face contorts in shock as his final gambit fails. Outside, an orc bellows that the war is finally over. Ike orders his troops to spare the surrendered and bandage the wounded. One of the orcs questions this strange display of mercy. Ike explains that dead men cannot be taxed for money and resources. The orcs praise Ike-sama's brilliant and pragmatic foresight. Later, Ike stands alone, looking out from high window. He walks into the conquered lord's chambers and sits at the desk. He sees his skeletal reflection in a mirror on the wall. The impassive skull mask stares back at him from the glass. Finally safe from prying eyes, he reaches for his mask. He removes it, revealing the weary face of a young human man. His human eyes reflect the heavy burden of his secret. His inner thoughts begin, wondering how to explain his strange life. He recalls his past life as an ordinary Japanese citizen. He was reincarnated into this world, retaining all his old memories. He grew up to become the captain of the Undying Brigade. He has always concealed his identity, knowing exposure means death. He even protects this room with an extremely powerful magic field. The magical grid ensures that no one can enter without permission. However, a sudden, dawning horror crosses his face. He realizes a barrier is useless if someone was already hiding inside. His expression twists into one of pure, unadulterated shock. The maid hiding under the desk offers a nervous, awkward smile. She scrambles out, begging him not to kill her. She frantically swears that she hasn't seen a single thing. Overcome with terror, she promptly faints with a loud thunk. She lies unconscious on the floor, completely knocked out. The dreaded commander is left flustered, trying to get her attention. He kneels beside her, awkwardly telling her to wake up. The scene shifts to the distant, towering castle of Valancheer. Inside, a mysterious woman sits in shadow, deep in thought. She is impressed by the conquest of Arsenum in less than a week. She gazes into a scrying orb, observing Ike of the Undying Brigade. This woman, Sapphiro, is now concerned about what his future may bring. The story returns to the streets of the newly captured city. An orc advisor named Jiren expresses his gratitude for their victory. He is identified as Jiren, Ike's trusted orc advisor. Ike observes that the city's population is less than ideal. Jireh notes that the current demon king only cares about results. Ike points out that Arsenum is still a well-known trade center. Jireh agrees, understanding that this is what truly matters. He looks upon his commander, Ike Sama, with clear respect. A human citizen approaches, asking about the new tax rate. Jiren is enraged by the human's insolent tone toward Ike Sama. Ike calmly places a hand on his shoulder, silencing him. He informs the stunned citizen that the taxes will remain the same. However, he has a caveat to add to this act of mercy. He warns that anyone who dares defy the Demon King will face his wrath. He imagines himself as a terrifying figure, backed by a massive golem. Suddenly, his skeletal face registers genuine shock and alarm. The golem from his imagination becomes real and attacks him. The force of the blow sends him reeling backward. Confused, he removes his mask, wondering what just happened. A mysterious figure asks why he was summoned so rudely. Ike looks up, recognizing his superior, Sapphiro-sama. Sapphiro looks down at the scene with a calm, knowing smirk. The golem she summoned begins to crumble from the impact. Ike prepares to retaliate against her sudden and violent test. He summons his powerful, ornate Ouroboros staff to his hand. The staff's head transforms into a wicked, bladed weapon. He unleashes a devastating wind slash, tearing through the stone. The force of his attack carves a path of destruction. Ike stands firm, his expression serious after the display of power. Sapphiro appears behind him, remarking that he is getting even stronger. She stands with her arms crossed, impressed by the tough golem. Ike turns to face his superior, the dust settling around them. He identifies her as Sapphiro, his direct boss and a general. More importantly, she is the only person who knows his secret. He asks why she can't summon him normally, but she finds this more interesting. Sapphiro greets Ike, calling him the strongest magician and noting it has been a long time. From off-panel, Ike asks if this summons is about his recent conquest of Arsenum. Sapphiro smiles, assuring him that his performance during the campaign was absolutely flawless. With a piercing gaze, Ike asks why then she has called him here. Sapphiro's confident smile is all the answer he receives for a moment. Looming over him, she reveals the true reason. The sixth Demon King wishes to meet him. Ike's visible eye widens in pure, unadulterated shock at the news. His mind flashes to the terrifying, monstrous form of the current Demon King of legend. He wonders why him, as Sapphiro notes this is the first time a Demon King has summoned Captain. She suggests, with a knowing look, that the king is simply happy with his swift victory. Sapphiro tells a stunned Ike that she is taking him to the castle right now. She instructs him to place his hand on her shoulder to begin the teleportation. With visible hesitation, Ike reaches out and touches her shoulder. He quickly recoils, flustered, insisting he isn't into those kinds of things. Sapphiro chuckles at his innocence, calling him a boring child as magic gathers around them. She tells him not to be so stressed as he stares ahead, his face a mask of tension. In a flash of light, they vanish, leaving the stone courtyard empty. The scene shifts to the tall, timber-framed buildings of the conquered city. In Ike's room, the young maid lies unconscious on the checkered floor. She lets out a small groan, her eyes fluttering as she begins to awaken. Sitting up, she rubs her head, dazed and confused by what has happened. She rubs the sleep from her eyes, trying to get her bearings. Looking around, she finds herself alone in the large, opulent room. Her eyes land on a plate of dango left on the table, and she perks up. She looks at the two skewers of sweet dumplings with a curious expression. Deciding to leave, she gets to her feet and walks towards the door. She is suddenly stopped in her tracks, as if she has walked into an invisible wall. Confused, she reaches out, her fingers touching the empty air before her. Her hands press against the unseen barrier, groping at its magical surface. She realizes with a start that she has run into an invisible wall. Her attention is drawn to a piece of paper materializing in the air. A magical note floats before her, instructing her to wait inside like a good girl. She looks on with a nervous sweat drop, trapped and bewildered. A loud growl from her stomach interrupts her panic. She turns her gaze back towards the forgotten plate of dango on the table. The two skewers of glazed dumplings sit there, looking incredibly tempting. She leans in close, taking a deep sniff of the sweet, savory treat. Taking a large bite, her eyes widen in a burst of delicious flavor. Standing alone, she admits to herself that the dango is surprisingly delicious. A terrifying Gothic castle, Dykelsberg, is revealed, perched on a mountain in a thunderstorm. Ike and Sapphiro arrive, with Sapphiro remarking that it's been a while since her last visit. Ike, looking up at the imposing structure, admits that this is his first time seeing it. Lightning flashes behind him, illuminating the nervous sweat on his brow. Sapphiro smirks, teasingly asking if he is scared by the mere sight of the castle. She tells him not to push himself, reminding him that he is, after all, only human. As Ike puts on a skull mask, she adds that he is a scaredy cat too. A large, tusked demon guard stands sentinel before a pair of ornate doors. The guard eyes the newcomers with a stern, appraising look. He recognizes Ike's reputation as the one who successfully captured Arsenum. Ike is praised for his magic, which is deemed worthy of Romberg's grandchild. The guard chuckles warmly when Ike asks if he knew his grandfather. He declares that everyone in the Demon King's bloodline knows the name Romberg. The guard bids them to follow, stating that the Demon King is not one for waiting. They walk through a cavernous hall with towering arches and a massive rose window. The guard leads them down the long, pillared corridor toward the throne room. Ike takes in the grand, intimidating architecture of the castle's interior. His masked face is tense as he thinks of the legendary sixth Demon King. He recalls the legend of how this king single-handedly reversed the war against the humans. Before a final, massive door, he reflects that this king is the strongest of all time. His skeletal visage reveals none of the tension he feels underneath. An extreme close-up focuses on the single, human eye visible through the mask. As the great doors swing open, he prepares to finally meet the Supreme Commander. They step into a vast, cathedral-like throne room where a lone figure waits. A voice from the throne asks if he is the one people have been talking about. Ike and Sapphiro stand together, their gazes fixed on the distant ruler. A close-up shows the ruler's faint smile as they rest their chin on their hand. The dreaded Demon King is revealed to be a beautiful young woman with demonic horns. She welcomes him to her castle, speaking his name with an unnerving familiarity. A full-page illustration introduces the beautiful Demon Lord as Chapter 2 begins. The scene resets to Ike and Sapphiro entering the throne room, welcomed by the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord confirms his identity as Ike, the subordinate of Sapphiro. Ike remains silent, his masked face betraying none of his shock. He internally questions if this beautiful woman is truly the infamous Demon Lord. The guard announces Ike's feat of capturing the impenetrable Arsenum in under a week. Ike humbly deflects the praise, crediting his success to Sapphiro's guidance. From her throne, the Demon Lord simply says, "Oh." She smiles, remarking on his surprising humility. Her gaze sharpens as she asks if he is truly one of their kind, shocking Ike. He panics, realizing his attempt at modesty has spectacularly backfired. He stammers, trying to formulate a response to the dangerous question. Sapphiro watches her subordinate struggle, preparing to intervene on his behalf. She steps forward, announcing that Ike is the grandchild of the great Romberg. The Demon Lord accepts this, saying it explains his personality and wisdom. She nods thoughtfully, her suspicions seemingly put to rest for the moment. She then presses further, asking if that is why he spared all the civilians in Arsenum. A close-up on Ike's mask reveals his alarm at her sharp perception. The Demon Lord's intelligent eyes are fixed on him, awaiting his answer. Ike knows the demon army's true nature is to rule through terror and slaughter. As a human, he thinks he could never stand for such a massacre. He realizes he is in big trouble and asks the demon lord for permission to speak. The demon lord listens patiently, her chin resting on her hand. Ike begins his defense, arguing that terror will not make humans obedient. The demon lord acknowledges that there are many such examples in their history. He continues, proposing a comparison between cities ruled by demons and humans. He asks which of the two would ultimately bring the most benefit to their kind. The demon lord calmly replies that she believes the answer is quite obvious. Her eyes narrow slightly, her mind clearly working through his logic. She asks him one final, crucial question. Is that what Romberg taught him? Ike seizes the opportunity, confirming it is, and addresses her as Demon Lord Darrow-kun. He thinks to himself that he is now almost certain of her true identity. Within the throne room, Ike realizes the Demon Lord was reincarnated just like him. Her revolutionary policies, vast knowledge, and outstanding charisma were all undeniable proof. Furthermore, her title, Darrow-kun, translated to the Demon King of the Sixth Heaven. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place within his mind. He knew exactly which historical figure that famous title belonged to. His thoughts were cut short as the Demon Lord suddenly rose from her throne. The hem of her elegant dress swished as she began to descend steps. She walked towards him, her gaze fixed directly on his masked face. Ike's skeletal eyes widened slightly in shock beneath his hood. She told him that he was truly different from the rest of the demons. She hoped that the next time they met, he would show her his real face. Ike was left completely speechless by her unervingly perceptive command. She turned to leave, stating she had high expectations for him. A bead of sweat dripped down his real face, hidden beneath the mask. He watched silently as she and her guard departed the vast throne room. He stood beside Sapphiro, the immense pressure of the encounter sinking in. He remained quiet, still processing the weight of her words. Finally breaking, he clutched his mask, confessing he felt like he would die. Sapphiro remarked that his panic was unlike him, but he protested his fragility. He pointed out with alarm that she even knew he was wearing a mask. Sapphiro dryly told him to be grateful she didn't discover he was human. She tried to frame the outcome positively, mentioning the Demon Lord's reward. I questioned whether this could truly be considered a reward. With a smirk, Sapphiro mused that it seemed more like a punishment. Ike looked on in confusion, wondering what his punishment could possibly be. The scene transitions, showing a cloudy, ominous sky. They arrive at their destination, the desolate, war-torn city of Ivalice. Ike's cloak billows as he stands on the ruined, rocky ground. He and his undying brigade survey the widespread destruction before them. The ranks of skeletons, orcs, and giants stand ready behind their commander. His advisor, Jiren, interrupts him to deliver some important news. He congratulates Ike on his promotion to become the ruler of Ivalice. Ike's single visible eye widens in utter shock and disbelief. He internally questions this sudden, overwhelming new responsibility. Sapphiro tells him not to be so surprised, given his recent successes. Unmasked, Ike asks why he was assigned to Ivalice of all places. A close-up focuses on the brim of Sapphiro's distinctive witch hat. She explains that Ivalice is a key frontline city south of Arsenum. Ike stammers, still trying to process the grim, impossible assignment. Sapphiro acknowledges that defending it will be a difficult task, even for him. She gives him his orders: protect the city and double the taxes. She mockingly adds that he can even triple them if he insists. Later, Jiren formally introduces the ruined city to the assembled troops. He explains that this place will likely become the front line of the war. Ike declares that their first priority is to rebuild the city gate. He orders Jiren to gather engineers and workers from the remaining citizens. He then asks how long the renovation is expected to take. Jiren grimly estimates that it will take probably half a year. Ike knows this is far too long. They'll be in trouble if the humans attack. He considers the extreme vulnerability of such a long repair process. But he knows that proper preparation for the coming war is a must. Realizing they need time and manpower, a new idea strikes him. He looks at Jiren, a grim smile forming on his skeletal face. He gives an impossible order: rebuild the gate in just 1 month. Jiren is flabbergasted, shouting that there is no way to fix it that fast. Ike calmly acknowledges that the task seems impractical at first. However, that is only if they use the human workers alone. Jiren is left utterly confused by his commander's cryptic words. The scene shifts to a view of the mountains overlooking the territory. The camera moves down into the dense foliage of a nearby forest. A hooded human scout peeks out from the thick undergrowth. His eyes are wide with an expression of complete disbelief. He sees the city of Evil Eyes, where the sounds of construction fill the air. He cannot believe the destroyed gate has already been almost fully restored. He knows he must inform the others about this immediately. Within the city, a human hand places a heavy stone block into position. A line of weary but determined human workers carries more heavy stones. A close-up shows one worker, his face dirty and his expression tired. They work alongside new, much larger and more monstrous figures. The human workers look on as a giant joins their construction line. A colossal demon giant effortlessly lifts a massive stone slab. From the walls above, orcs also contribute to the rebuilding effort. Goblins and other demonic creatures help carry materials. Skeletons hammer away, their bones clattering with each rhythmic strike. The full scene reveals a bustling, unprecedented workforce of humans and demons. A human worker looks on, sweating but resolute in his task. Jiren watches the incredible scene from a balcony overlooking the city. He is silent, his expression one of deep contemplation and awe. He marvels that he has never seen humans and demons working together before. He thinks to himself that his master, Ike-sama, never ceases to amaze him. He quickly deduces the strategy: 24-hour work via 8-hour shifts. He also notes the use of rewards, which significantly boosts their morale. He concludes that the man he serves is truly a genius. He now understands why people call him the Demon Lord's right-hand man. He realizes that it is enough to place his complete faith in Ike's hands. He is certain that he is following the best possible master. He reflects that he wouldn't have made it this far without him. He feels absolutely certain that his master, Ike-sama, will become the next Demon Lord as Ike stands over a fallen maid. A close-up shows the maid, 13, lying peacefully on the floor. Ike's eyes shown in profile, his expression unreadable and silent. A title page for Chapter 3 is displayed, featuring the maid, 13. The scene pulls back, revealing Ike has just returned to his new library. He looks down at the strange girl collapsed on his floor. He wonders to himself what on earth is going on. He questions why she is lying here in his personal quarters. He glances around the room, looking for any possible clues. He spots the empty, dirty plate and realizes she must have eaten and fallen asleep. He finds it quite impressive that she could sleep so soundly in this situation. Just then, the maid's eye flutters open as she begins to awaken. A young woman awakens in an ornate library, wondering where she is. She realizes she is in Evil Eyes, a city south of Arsenum. She turns and sees Ike's human face, letting out a piercing scream. She immediately prostrates herself, begging for mercy and promising anything to live. Ike looks on, exasperated by her pleas to be spared. She scrambles away, wailing that she does not want to die. He calmly tells her he has no intention of killing her. Ike warns her not to move, because things are about to get dangerous. His expression hardens as he grips the hilt of his dagger. The maid flinches back in terror, her hands flying to her face. He explains she was simply moved here along with him. He adds that he is in no mood to kill anyone right now. Now that she's calmer, he asks what her name is. She timidly answers that she is called 13, surprising him. Ike comments that it is a very strange name to have. She explains that all slaves are identified only by their numbers. Her mother, also a slave, simply gave her the name 13. Ike falls silent, absorbing the quiet tragedy of her story. He states that since she knows he's human, he can't let her go. She panics, swearing that she has not seen a thing. With wide, desperate eyes, she promises to keep his secret forever. Ike considers her desperate oath, his expression thoughtful. He finally relents, telling the girl that he believes her. However, he says there is a condition, and she looks up nervously. He declares that from this day forward, she is his personal maid. The girl is left completely speechless by his stunning offer. He informs her that she is not allowed to refuse him. She leaps to her feet, enthusiastically accepting his care from now on. Ike is visibly taken aback by her sudden and complete change in demeanor. With the terms agreed upon, he suggests they make a contract. The scene shifts to the war-torn kingdom of Rosalia, rocked by explosions. In the streets, human knights battle against a horde of savage orcs. A knight in chainmail is brutally swatted aside by a powerful orc. A cloaked demon mage unleashes dark magic, blasting away the human soldiers. The war with Rosalia is currently going well for the demon army, but Rosalia is planning to turn the tables on them. The demon lord is informed that Rosalia plans an alliance with other kingdoms. She muses that humans only learn to fight together when they are cornered. With a knowing smile, she says that it must be his turn now. We see the bustling marketplace of Rhesus in the Rosalia kingdom. A street performer entices a crowd with promises of goodies for all. He tells them all they need to do is bring some coin. Guessing the correct cup in his shell game will double their bet. He asks the crowd who will be the first to find the ball. 13 steps forward from the crowd and confidently points to a cup. The performer calls it a bold choice and asks how much she will bet. He mutters that she shouldn't bother if she doesn't have any money. She cheerfully confirms she has no money, confusing the man. The performer's eye twitches as he looks her up and down. 13 sits with a bright, innocent smile, waiting for the game. The camera focuses on her ample chest, strained against her dress. The performer swallows hard, a lecherous thought crossing his mind. He suggests that if not money, other things will do for a bet. With a flourish, he prepares to reveal the answer to the crowd. He lifts the cups with a grand, sweeping motion. He falls back in genuine shock. The ball is under none of them. The crowd realizes he is a fraud and the game was a scam. They angrily demand their money back from the cheating bastard. 2 large men from the crowd grab the cornered performer. Ike steps in, declaring he will show the man the price of cheating. His expression is cold and serious as he takes control of the situation. He grabs 13 by the shoulder, pulling her away from the commotion. He gently scolds her, asking what kind of maid wanders from her master. She apologizes, saying the exciting town made her forget herself. She then notices his plain clothes and asks about his outfit. He reminds her they are in disguise to gather information on the enemy. They stand together, their undercover mission now refocused. A column of human soldiers marches through the town square before them. Ike confirms to a surprised 13 that the alliance rumors are true. It is an old pact for kingdoms to unite against a great threat. He explains that this powerful pact has been executed 3 times before. Each time, the demon army was pushed back to the fortress of Vorburg. 13 worries if history is about to repeat itself. Ike asks if she wants the demon king to lose. She denies it. Their conversation is cut short as Ike sternly tells her to stop. The performer and a massive brute have blocked their path in an alley. 13 accuses the man of cheating, but he just tells her to shut up. The man smirks, saying it is now time for a little payback. He threatens that she must pay with both her money and her body. Ike notes with chilling calm that no one is around to witness this. He grips the hilt of his weapon, preparing to act. A magic circle glows as he summons his Ouroboros staff in small mode. The performer is shocked, demanding to know what that thing is. His large companion tries to get his attention, but he is distracted. The brute's legs are suddenly encased in glittering shards of ice. The performer stares in horror as Ike names the spell, Ice Spear. The man is surrounded by sharp, hovering shards of magical ice. He warns Ike not to move, but Ike says he has a question. An ice shard pierces the man's arm, and he cries out in pain. He screams at Ike, demanding to know what he is doing. The terrified man quickly admits that it was all his fault. Ike asks what the army is doing in the city. The man claims he doesn't know what the hustling soldiers are up to. An ice shard moves closer to his eye, and his memory returns. He reveals Rosalia's army plans to take revenge on the Demon King. Ike listens intently, absorbing the crucial piece of intelligence. Rosalia wants to make the first move to gain authority in the alliance. Ike realizes that failure would mean the end of the Rosalia kingdom. He asks where the battlefield will be, knowing the choice is already made. Ike's face hardens as the man confirms the target. His city, Ivalize. A human commander remarks on intelligence gathered about the target city, Ivalize. A stylish, high-heeled boot takes a firm step on the stone street. A determined young woman with braided blonde hair stands in the city. The scene pans up from the treetops towards a vast, cloudy sky. The view shifts to a dense, dark forest concealing a hidden army. The forest floor is a tangle of shadows, leaves, and undergrowth. Dawn breaks over the mountains, illuminating the formidable fortress of Ivalize. Rows of disciplined human spearmen, the White Myrtle Knights, stand at attention. The soldiers' faces are grim and set, ready for the impending battle. Two artillerymen make final adjustments to a heavy siege cannon. Their commander, clad in ornate winged armor, sits astride a barred warhorse. A tight close-up focuses on the commander's intimidating, featureless helmet. A scout reports from the trees that the fortress is eerily quiet, with no guards. Another scout smirks, noting the demons seem determined to fix their shabby gait. The commander raises a gauntlet hand, giving the order to prepare the cannons. The human soldiers look on, awaiting the signal to begin the assault. An artilleryman kneels by his cannon, ready to ignite the fuse. The commander's helmet gleams as they are about to give the final order. Suddenly, a massive skeletal hand erupts from the ground before the commander. The commander gasps, their head jerking back in utter shock. A horrifying legion of skeletal warriors claws its way out of the earth. A human soldier cries out in terror, asking what is emerging from the ground. The soldier grunts in pain as a sudden volley of arrows rains down. On a nearby ridge, a line of goblin archers is revealed to the horrified army. As the goblins take aim, a soldier screams that they have walked into a trap. Hulking giants and orcs charge from the woods, their roars filling the air. The once disciplined human ranks are decimated by the surprise attack. A brutish orc smashes through the human lines, the battle now a slaughter. The demons laugh maniacally as they tear through the disorganized soldiers. An orc lets out a savage, guttural battle cry, his tusks bared. The knight commander fights back, cutting down a demon for horseback. The commander's helmet is spattered with dirt from the chaotic melee. They watch in silence as their forces are completely overwhelmed. The commander falls still, realizing the battle is utterly lost. Seeing no other choice, the commander bellows the order for a full retreat. The tattered remnants of a human army flee across the corpse-strewn field. From the ramparts of Ivalize, Ike and Jiren observe the enemy running away. Jiren remarks that it was an excellent prediction from his commander. He praises Ike's foresight, but Ike curtly tells him to quit the flattery. Jiren laughs, telling his chief not to be so humble about his victory. Unseen by them, a lone archer is silhouetted on a distant rooftop. The blindfolded archer draws their bow, taking careful aim at the commanders. The archer's expression is one of calm focus as they prepare to fire. With a soft twang, the archer releases the bowstring, sending the arrow flying. The arrow strikes Ike squarely in the chest with a sickening, wet thud. Ike lets out a choked gasp of pain as dark blood spatters his skeletal mask. The fourth chapter of the story begins, marked by a bloody ink blot. The scene opens with an establishing shot of a sprawling, peaceful city. The view moves inside to an opulent, well-appointed hallway in a grand building. An ornate, crystal chandelier hangs elegantly from the high ceiling. Ike awakens in a luxurious bed, confused about where he is. He looks down to see his chest wrapped in bandages tied with a large bow. He murmurs to himself, trying to piece together what has happened. Turning, he sees Sapphiro in bed beside him and lets out a terrified scream. Sapphiro stretches languidly, a sleepy and amused look on her face. Ike shouts in panic, demanding to know why she is sleeping next to him. Sapphiro coolly asks if that is the right way to treat his savior. He screams in agony as she adds she even gave him an intense massage. The camera briefly shows the ornate exterior of the building they are in. Sapphiro asks if he remembers anything, while Ike wonders why he is there. She explains she was busy healing a patient who was shot by an arrow. She tells him to look at his body, where the scar from the wound remains. Ike looks down in silence as the memories of the attack return to him. He recalls the assassination attempt, and Sapphiro confirms his thoughts. Sapphiro notes that, once again, no human casualties were taken in the battle. She warns this may raise the Demon Lord's suspicion, as she has told him before. Ike's expression is filled with conviction as he states his goal of peaceful coexistence. Sapphiro listens to his declaration with a thoughtful, unreadable expression. Donning her witch's hat, she advises him to rest and stay quiet for a while. She reminds him that despite her healing magic, he is still only human. With a faint flicker of light, Sapphiro teleports away, leaving him alone. Ike sits on the edge of the bed, looking down at his bandaged chest. His eyes narrow with renewed determination to achieve his dream. The scene shifts to an overhead view of the human kingdom of Rosalia. Vice Commander Galrosha slams his desk, enraged to hear the knights retreated. He dismisses the excuse of despicable demon traps, refusing to listen. He furiously orders Captain Aristide of the White Myrtle Knights to be jailed. His subordinate protests, noting Aristia's renowned abilities across the kingdom. Galrosha states he doesn't care. She must take responsibility for her failure. He believes this sacrifice is necessary to keep His Majesty's reputation intact. The story returns to the demon-controlled city of Ivalize, nestled by a mountain. Ike, once again masked, sits at the desk in his grand, sunlit office. He thoughtfully examines the assassin's arrow, holding it to his skeletal lips. He confirms that the arrowhead is definitely from the Rosalia kingdom. He muses on how they infiltrated his castle, which has no hidden paths. Ruling out all external sources, he concludes he must consider internal ones. A cheerful voice calls out to Ike-sama, interrupting his grim thoughts. The succubus Lilies bursts in, asking if it is true he was hit by an arrow. She drapes herself over his desk, asking where he was hit, but he tells her to get off. He asks if she has forgotten a certain promise between them. She reminds him of his vow to accept her virginity as an offering. Ike sweats, exasperated that she is bringing that up again at this moment. A new voice announces that it is time for the master's meal. Lilies whirls around, demanding to know who the newcomer is. The young maid stammers that her name is Sadie, and she is the master's maid. Lilies asks Ike if he has a problem with the fact that she is a human. She demands to know why he would give the coveted title of maid to an ugly human. Sadie interrupts with a wink, announcing it is her master's tea time. Lilies explodes in fury, accusing Sadie of flirting in front of Ike-sama. Jiren enters, telling the two to quit their quarreling in front of their master. The orc, Jiren, looks downcast after being called ugly by the succubus. Ike offers a rare moment of comfort, telling Jiren not to mind the insult. Jiren, touched by the gesture, asks his master if something is the matter. Ike gives a new order. Check the whereabouts of the White Myrtle Knights captain. His visible eye glints as he states there is something he needs to verify. The scene transitions, showing a cloudy sky peeking through a dense forest canopy. The camera pans down to a quiet, sun-dappled path winding through the woods. Ike's tattered cloak sweeps across the forest floor as he steps into a clearing. He stands alone, a solitary, menacing figure amidst the tranquil greenery. Through a break in the trees, he gazes up at a tall, cylindrical prison tower. His thoughts confirm his intelligence. Captain Alistair is being held in that prison. A flashback begins, taking the story back a few days. Sapphiro questions Alistair's imprisonment, which Ike assumes is punishment for her failure. Ike listens silently as his general considers the situation. He contemplates his next move, a plan already forming in his mind. He announces he will investigate himself, confirming Saphiro's suspicion that he's going to the prison. He insists she stay to manage the city, despite her concern for his safety. Saphiro offers a faint, knowing smile, accepting his decision without another word. The scene transitions back to the present day in the forest. As Ike prepares to move, a voice asks if he is heading out alone. The succubus Lilies appears, playfully suggesting they travel together. Ike dismisses her, but she insists that traveling alone must be boring. She leans in, purring that two people would make the journey more interesting. Annoyed, Ike relents, warning her to stay silent if she insists on coming. Lilies playfully frames the distant prison, asking if that is their destination. Hidden in the bushes, she asks if the captain is inside, and Ike confirms. Ike observes the two guards at the gate, noting the security seems surprisingly lax. Lilies stretches confidently, volunteering to handle the guards all by herself. He sternly reminds her that his goal is to avoid unnecessary fights. She cheerfully reports back, standing over the guards' unconscious bodies as promised. They enter the prison, a dark, cavernous space lit by hanging lanterns. They look up in awe at the massive, multi-tiered panopticon structure. Ike notes the prison's vast size, realizing their search could take some time. Lilies reassures him, saying he doesn't need to worry about that. A lone human guard stands watch on one of the lower levels. The guard suddenly looks up, startled by an unseen presence. The camera pans up the towering structure of cells and walkways. The guard is now on the ground, groaning in pain, having been swiftly defeated. Lilies holds up the unconscious guard, telling Ike their target is on the highest floor. Suddenly, a shout rings through the prison. Intruder alert! Lilies notes they've been spotted as guards rush towards them from below. She tells Ike to go on ahead while she deals with the commotion. He repeats his order to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, which she cheerfully acknowledges. Ike turns and begins his solitary ascent up the spiral staircase. He glances back with a weary sigh, already knowing what will happen. Screams of agony and splatters of blood erupt from the floor below. He continues climbing the intricate walkways of the prison surrounding him. The dizzying, complex structure of the central staircase twists upwards. He finally arrives at the walkway of the highest floor. Ike stands alone before the cell door, his destination in sight. He pauses for a moment, steeling himself before entering. He inserts a key into the lock, turning it with a loud, metallic click. He steps into the Spartan's cell, finding it seemingly empty. He is certain this is the correct room, despite the lack of a prisoner. A sudden scuffing sound makes his head whip around in surprise. His single visible eye widens as he registers the ambush. A cloaked figure lunges at him with a knife from the shadows. The blade arcs through the air, aimed directly at him. Ike's skeletal face is grim as he prepares his counterattack. The knife attack is a blur of deadly motion. He instantly summons his Ouroboros staff to parry the blow. The attacker is thrown back by the force of the block. They land hard on the stone floor, their momentum broken. Ike glares down at his mysterious, cloaked ambusher. The attacker's hood falls back, revealing their face with a soft thud. Ike lets out a sharp, silent gasp of surprise. He instinctively activates his staff's magic sword mode. The figure on the floor lets out a groan of pain. Ike looks down, confused, realizing he has grabbed something in the struggle. He has accidentally grabbed the attacker's chest, and she cries out in shock. He quickly steps back, apologizing for the unintentional contact. The knight captain, Alistair, glares up at him, demanding to know his business. She assumes he is a demon who has come to mock her. Ike's eye narrows as a stunning realization dawns on him. He is utterly shocked to discover that Captain Alistair is a woman. She reasons that a demon would have no cause to come save her. Ike remains silent, his mind racing to process this new information. Alistair states that there is something she needs to confirm with him. Ike ignores her, getting straight to his own question about the assassination attempt. She doesn't answer, her expression thoughtful as she studies him. She takes a single, deliberate step towards him. She closes the distance between them, her gaze never leaving his. Ike is taken aback by her sudden, bold advance. They now stand face to face in the middle of the small prison cell. Her expression is serious, her eyes filled with suspicion. The two commanders, enemies by birth, stare each other down. She begins to ask the question that has been forming in her mind. With unnerving certainty, she asks if he is truly a demon, shocking Ike. His eye widens, a bead of sweat forming as he stays silent. He deflects, asking what she means by such a question. From below, a guard shouts that they have found the intruder. Human soldiers are seen swarming up the central staircase toward their location. Ike glances over the railing, assessing the rapidly approaching threat. He turns back to Alistair, a knife now held ready in his hand. She grabs the tassel of his cloak, preventing him from moving. Her eyes narrow, her suspicion solidifying into near certainty. She presses her own blade to his throat, asking if he is also a human. Standing on the narrow walkway, she demands that he answer her. She repeats her question, but Ike remains silent, trapped. The first guard to arrive as Alistair holds the demon commander at knife point. On the high walkways of the prison, Alistia holds a knife to Ike's throat. Ike's skeletal mask remains impassive, his thoughts hidden. He calmly advises that it would be wiser if she were the one not to move. With a whisper, he unleashes the spell Hypersense. A wave of energy washes over Alistia, her body frozen solid. She realizes with dawning horror that she is completely paralyzed. The prison guards finally arrive, ordering the intruders to halt. A new knight commander appears, calling upon the dark winds to rise. He casts Windbreaker, a vortex of black tendrils erupting from him. The chaotic spell ensnares his own men, who cry out in agony. Ike watches the pandemonium from the side, completely unfazed. A massive knight in full-plate armor raises a spiked mace to attack him. The heavy weapon swings down with bone-crushing force. Ike simply calls upon his dark power to emerge. He unleashes Dark Press, a storm of shadowy ribbons lashing out. A guard is thrown helplessly through the air by the overwhelming force. Another knight is slammed down, ensnared by the dark magic. The sheer power of the spell begins to crack the stone walkway. The entire upper level of the prison shatters and collapses. Ike stands silently on a remaining section of the walkway. The floor beneath the paralyzed Alistia finally gives way. She plummets into the dark, yawning abyss of the prison shaft. She falls helplessly, surrounded by a rain of stone and debris. Her eyes are wide with shock and terror. In a flash, Ike dives over the broken railing after her. He catches her midair, cradling her securely in his arms. She looks up at her skeletal savior, her mind reeling in bewilderment. Her expression is one of complete and utter confusion. They land safely on a lower level with a soft thud. She looks up at him, still trying to process what just happened. Now free, she pushes herself away from him, her mind in turmoil. Standing on the ruined walkway, she demands to know what he just did. Ike calmly states that he has not yet introduced himself. He reveals his identity as Ike, captain of the Undying Brigade. He then firmly declares that he is not a human. She questions why a demon captain would save her life. Her expression remains wary and deeply suspicious. She turns to face him, demanding to know his true purpose. She asks what he wants from her. Ike's gaze intensifies, his patience wearing thin. He asks her one more time if she ordered his assassination. Flustered, she defiantly admits it, demanding to know what of it. She claims it was a necessary tactic for the sake of victory. Just then, Lilies appears, demanding to know what Ike is doing. She angrily asks how he can flirt with another woman when he has her. Lilies offers to be the recipient of a romantic wall slam instead. Ike decides it is time for their conversation to end. Alistia calls out, telling him to wait. She asks if he is truly leaving without killing her. He assures her that he is not the type to do such things. As he walks away, He adds that she doesn't seem deeply involved. She asks him what he means by that. He reveals that he has already checked her mind. He turns back slightly, preparing to offer some parting advice. He tells her to stop being so devastated by her loss. He suggests learning from failure is the key to being a good general. His unexpected words strike a chord with the disgraced knight. Annoyed, Lilies asks if he really wants to leave now. Alistio watches them go, his strange counsel echoing in her mind. The story returns to the fortress city of Evil Eyes. Ike has assembled his entire demonic brigade in the city square. He stands on a high balcony, looking down upon his soldiers. His skeletal face is grim as he contemplates the truth. He knows the assassin's arrow belonged to the enemy's armory. However, he saw no such arrows among Alistia's knights. He concludes it was a setup, the worst-case scenario. Realizing there is a spy, he prepares to use mind-reading magic. His powerful gaze sweeps across the ranks of his orc soldiers. He scans their thoughts, searching for the traitor's mind. One orc begins to sweat profusely under his intense scrutiny. Ike stops directly in front of the nervous soldier. He coldly declares that he has found the spy. Looking down at the terrified orc, he confirms it was him. The scene shifts to the grand, Gothic castle of Valancheer. Sapphiro greets Ike from her bath, noting it has been a while. Ike, unmasked, stands before her and asks what the matter is. He says he'll wait outside, as he's already used to this. He bluntly asks if there's a traitor among them. Sapphiro casually replies that she figured it out one way or another. She asks if he knows who was behind the conspiracy. Ike remains silent, his expression cold and serious. He identifies the mastermind, Vice General Jace, the one-eyed imp. Sapphiro reacts with only a slight exclamation of surprise. She asks if he's not surprised, and he says this stuff usually happens. She asks what their next move should be. She then rises gracefully from the bath, startling the flustered Ike. Hiding his blushing face, Ike says their plan is already decided. Sapphiro agrees, vowing they'll act until they get what they want. In the town of Loar, a subordinate asks about Ike's sudden appearance. Vice General Jace rages that Ike could have possibly survived the arrow. He furiously questions if his assassin even did the job properly. The assassin stands silently before his commander. He guarantees that the arrow pierced Ike's chest. Another soldier reports that they have lost contact with their spy. Jace realizes Ike has figured it out and orders his forces to gather. He declares with grim determination that he will not stop here. A soldier rushes in, calling out to Jace Sama. He reports that Ike has come to Loar, and he is by himself. Ike stands alone in the town square, a menacing and solitary figure. His skeletal face is a mask of cold, silent resolve, ready for what's next. Jace feigns surprise, remarking that he can't believe Ike came without notice. Ike offers a simple excuse, claiming he was just passing by to say hello. A narrow view focuses on Ike's intimidating skeletal eyes from beneath his hood, surrounded by his goblin troops. Jace sarcastically observes that Ike seems to have brought soldiers. Ike coolly feigns ignorance, asking if there happens to be a battle going on. Jace dismisses him, stating that this is his land and none of Ike's business. Changing the subject, Jace approaches Ike, mentioning he heard about his recent injury. He mockingly questions how a brigade captain could have been so careless. Ike calmly replies that he is reflecting on his mistake and should have been more cautious. He then adds a pointed barb, suggesting he should be cautious even of traitors. Jace pauses, letting out a soft hum as he processes the direct accusation. His expression twists into a sinister grin as he admits this was expected. The trap is sprung. Ike is surrounded. Jace asks his intentions for coming alone. Jace boasts that his forces are twice as powerful as Ike's own brigade. He adds that his soldiers have all gathered, hungry for a taste of Ike's blood. He scoffs, asking if Ike truly believes he can take them all on by himself. Ike remains silent, his skull-like face unreadable in the face of the overwhelming odds. He then asks a simple, chilling question. Are all of Jace's troops here? A sudden, massive explosion erupts in the town behind a shocked and flinching Jace. His single eye widens in alarm as he demands to know what that sound was. A massive, flaming meteor streaks across the sky, descending upon the town. Jace stares in horror, unable to believe what he is seeing. More meteors rain down from the heavens, beginning to bombard the entire area. A building is struck directly, exploding in a shower of stone and timber. Jace's goblin soldiers are sent flying by the powerful concussive blasts. Explosions engulf the rooftops, turning the town into a fiery hellscape. High above the chaos, Sapphiro's elegant heels are seen as she floats serenely. She casually wonders aloud if Ike is still down there amidst the destruction. Flanked by the Undying Brigade, she confidently decides he will manage somehow. She begins a powerful incantation, speaking of a light darker than black. With eyes closed, she continues, describing a spark falling from the deep void. She summons the root of an apocalypse that will shatter the entire world. With her wand aimed, she unleashes her ultimate magic, Meteor Strike. The spell impacts with cataclysmic force, ripping another building apart. Jace's goblin soldiers are instantly obliterated by the overwhelming magical power. A tall stone watchtower is shattered by the relentless bombardment from the sky. The fiery explosions continue to tear through the streets of the doomed town. A wide view shows the entire city being consumed by the fiery onslaught. The horizon is lit up by the endless explosions of Sapphiro's devastating spell. A slight smile on her lips, Sapphiro decides it is now time for the cleanup. She gives her final, chilling order: do not let a single soul escape. The Undying Brigade charges into the ruins, cutting down the day's survivors. Jace's forces are brutally beaten and stabbed by Ike's merciless soldiers. The skeletal warriors systematically slaughter the remnants of the traitor's army. Amidst the smoking ruins, a dead soldier lies on a pile of rubble. Defeated and alone, Jace kneels amidst the wreckage of his shattered forces. He watches helplessly as the Undying Brigade finishes off his last remaining man. He grits his teeth, letting out a guttural sound of pure frustration. Ike appears before the defeated vice general, offering him two options. The first choice is to surrender unconditionally at this very moment. The second is to surrender only after losing both of his arms and legs. In a final, desperate act of defiance, Jace orders his men to kill Ike. Two goblins scream a battle cry as they charge forward with weapons raised. A vortex of dark, swirling energy gathers around Ike. He unleashes a sonic boom, blasting his attackers away with concussive force. A winged imp screeches as it dives down from the sky to attack. Ike calmly conjures a magical barrier, deflecting the imp's spear with ease. The imp bounces harmlessly off the glowing, impenetrable shield. More winged imps swarm from the sky, supported by soldiers on the ground. A close-up on Ike's skeletal face reveals his complete lack of concern. He unleashes a devastating spell, a swarm of dark projectiles called Black Arrow. The magical arrows rain down upon Jace's soldiers, overwhelming them completely. The imps are pierced by the arrows and fall lifelessly from the sky. Jace flinches as a nearby wall explodes, another of his men taken down. He sweats, realizing the utter futility of his situation. One of Jace's subordinates breaks rank and tries to flee across the rooftops. Jace curses, enraged that his own men are turning on him now. A colossal, hornstone golem rises up behind the fleeing soldier. The golem smashes the traitor from the air with a single, mighty blow. Jace spits a curse under his breath, calling Ike a bastard. He clutches a small, cylindrical object tightly in his fist. He throws it to the ground, shouting for Ike to take this. The golem stands impassively amidst a thick cloud of smoke. Jace has vanished, using the smoke bomb as a diversion to escape. The golem's voice calls Jace an idiot for attempting to flee. Ike's soldiers realize the vice general is escaping and begin to search for him. Jace is seen leaping across the rooftops, making a desperate run for it. He bounds towards the high outer wall of the town. He clears the wall in a single, powerful, and desperate leap. He lands hard outside the city, seemingly having made a clean getaway. He takes his first step on solid ground, ready to continue his retreat. He stands on a rocky outcrop, looking back at the town he just fled. Jace vows that while he retreats now, the real battle has only just begun. A blast of dark energy suddenly streaks down from the sky towards him. He is struck by the magical attack, crying out in pain and shock. Stunned and wounded, he demands to know who attacked him. Ike's voice echoes, stating that struggling on the line of death is a bad experience. Jace is horrified to see Ike standing before him once again. In a forest clearing, Jace demands to know how Ike caught up to him. Ike reveals he expected this outcome and planted something on Jace from the start. Jace is horrified to find a small, glowing parasite on his shoulder. He crushes the magical bug, calling Ike a sly bastard. Ike calmly informs him that resistance is futile and it is time to surrender. Jace scoffs, telling Ike he speaks with unearned authority for a mere brigade captain. Declaring his full title, he lunges, telling the weakling Ike to know his place. Ike effortlessly blocks the desperate, clawed attack with his forearm. He mocks Jace, stating that such a pathetic attack can barely even touch him. Jace grunts in pain and frustration, his final gambit having utterly failed. Ike unleashes another sonic boom, blasting the defeated Vice General away. Jace is sent tumbling through the air, his body shattering against the ground. The defeated Vice General Jace lets out a choked cry of agony. Ike taunts him, noting his combat ability is terrible despite his reputation for scheming. Jace, sprawled in the dirt, defiantly tells his captor to shut up. With a surge of power, Ike prepares to cast his final, binding spell. Dark tendrils erupt from the earth, ensnaring Jace and hoisting him into the air. He struggles frantically, demanding to know what these strange bindings are. The traitor realizes with dawning horror that he is caught in a binding spell. Ike informs his captive that there is now no way for him to escape. Jace accepts his fate, admitting with a grunt that it is finally over. The captured imp finally concedes, admitting his utter defeat. He praises Ike, acknowledging him as the Demon Lord's feared right-hand man. Jace reveals his true mission was to recruit Ike after testing him at Arsenum. Ike recalls the traitor's earlier words about wanting to make him an offer. Jace makes a final plea, asking Ike's forces to join their rebellion. Ike's masked face remains impassive, his thoughts hidden. The imp urges Ike to think carefully about the proposition before him. He questions the Demon Lord's actions, asking what she has done for them. Jace speaks of their true nature, believing demons should enslave and torture humans. He scoffs at the Demon Lord's order forbidding the slaughter of innocents. He dismisses their General Sapphiro as incompetent and lacking ambition for the throne. Ike's hidden eyes narrow as he processes the traitor's treasonous words. Jace proposes they join forces and change the demon army from within. He asks Ike to join not just him, but us, and become their comrade. With a final burst of strength, Jace shatters his magical bonds. He lunges not at Ike, but towards his own throat in a suicide attempt. Screaming Ike's name, he brings a dagger towards his neck. Ike calmly casts Hyper Sense, a spell to paralyze his opponent. A wave of invisible energy freezes Jace in his tracks. The imp is left confused and helpless, unable to move a muscle. He realizes Ike had anticipated this move, having something else in mind. Ike asks if there are more conspirators left in his faction. Jace lets out a weak, mocking laugh, refusing to answer. Suddenly, his body is racked by a violent, agonizing convulsion. He lets out a blood-curdling scream as his body begins to fail. A new voice coldly tells him to just speak already. General Sapphiro appears, threatening to crush his brain to make him talk. I can only utter his general's name as she takes control. Jace grimaces and sweats, his body writhing in unbearable pain. His single eye widens in shock and agony as the poison takes hold. He screams as his skin begins to bubble and warp grotesquely. Sapphiro remarks that she has not even started her interrogation yet. Jace's skin becomes horribly swollen, covered in bulging veins. He can only gasp for air, his body rapidly deteriorating. Sapphiro tells Ike to move aside, stepping forward to examine the traitor. She places a hand on the dying imp, diagnosing his condition. She concludes that her healing magic cannot counter this powerful poison. She addresses the dying traitor by his name, Jace. She asks if he is aware that his co-conspirators have now abandoned him. Sapphiro tells him there is no longer any need to keep his loyalty. She offers him a final chance for revenge against those who forsook him. With his last breath, Jace reveals the mastermind, the general of the Third Legion. He names him Bastio of the Dullahans, shocking both Ike and Sapphiro. Sapphiro is stunned into silence, her eyes wide with disbelief. A voice announces the presence of General Sapphiro of the 7th Legion. A grotesque, one-eyed, bat-winged messenger appears beside her. The creature declares that the demon lord wishes to have a word with her. Ike and Sapphiro stand together, ready for the royal summons. A title page shows Ike standing behind the stern-faced demon lord. In the throne room, the demon lord notes Bastio's statement contradicts theirs. Bastio coolly claims that his opponents are intending to spread lies. He accuses them of secretly terminating Jace, the only witness to the case. Sapphiro furiously asks what he said, but Bastio questions if he is wrong. She seethes in anger, calling the Dullahan general a bastard. The demon lord's voice cuts through the argument, ordering them both to stop. She asks Bastio if he really thinks she knows nothing at all. Sapphiro and Bastio fall silent at their sovereign's sharp words. The demon lord calls out the armored general by name, Bastio. She reveals she has been aware of his plotting for some time now. She asks him if he has considered the reason why she let him live. She explains that it is because no demons in her ranks hold any ambition. Ike, Bastio, and Sapphiro listen intently to her judgment. Ike's hidden eyes take in the unfolding political drama. She states that outstanding individuals rise to power. It is the nature of demons. Punishing ambition, she says, would mean killing the entire demon race. She then turns her sharp gaze to Sapphiro, calling her name. She places the blame for this entire scenario on Sapphiro's flawed leadership. Sapphiro quietly accepts the criticism, stating that she understands. The demon lord acknowledges her subordinate's acceptance. She declares that she does not wish to lose two excellent generals. Sapphiro wonders what solution their lord will propose to end the dispute. The demon lord's decision is announced. The matter will be settled by a duel. She calls it the most reasonable method for resolving disputes among demons. From behind his sealed helmet, Bastio lets out a pleased chuckle. He praises her wise decision, addressing her as Your Highness. The demon lord then asks what their method of battle will be. Ike raises a hand to his chin, contemplating the strange question. He is visibly confused by the open-ended nature of the duel. The demon lord announces the fight will take place in 1 week's time. She specifies the format, a 50-on-50 battle between the two legions. Bastio listens silently, his helmet concealing his expression. Ike's skeletal face remains impassive as he absorbs the terms of the challenge. His dark, empty eye sockets reflect a silent understanding of the test. From a distant castle, a voice declares, "As you wish." A diagram illustrates the 50 versus 50 battle between the opposing legions. A crucial rule is explained. The commanders will only manage their troops. The soldiers will be magical, puppet soldiers created from dirt. In her chambers, Sapphiro concludes it's a strategy battle with impartial rules. Ike watches silently as she applies elaborate, wing-like makeup. He questions the strange format, asking why it isn't a simple 1-versus-1 fight. Sapphiro smiles, explaining that their lord's thoughts can be a bit eccentric. In Sapphiro's chambers, she explains that generals don't need to fight in these duels. Ike realizes this means she can send a representative to fight on her behalf. As she applies her lipstick, Sapphiro confirms that is exactly the case. Ike argues that since she's responsible, it's best for her to lead herself. Sapphiro turns, admitting that was her original plan when this began. However, she coolly informs him that she has since changed her mind. She reminds him of her crafty nature, a fact they both know well. Therefore, she only ever bets on the absolute highest possibility of winning. With absolute confidence, she declares that Ike will command the battle for her. Ike is left utterly speechless, his mind reeling from the sudden pronouncement. Sapphiro teases his shock, while he stammers, asking what she means. A knowing, confident smile plays across her lips as she looks at him. She makes a stunning admission. His commanding ability has surpassed her own. He protests vehemently, declaring it impossible that he could ever defeat her. She calmly tells him not to get the situation mixed up in his head. She clarifies he is better at leadership, but she is the superior general overall. Ike listens intently, the weight of her words sinking in deeply. She approaches him, placing his hands over her heart in a solemn gesture. She declares that she is placing her very life into his capable hands. He is overwhelmed by the immense trust she has placed upon him. In the grand throne room of Doberbelk, the demon lord waits patiently. Her long, dark-nailed fingers tap rhythmically on the arm of her throne. The quiet tapping sound echoes through the vast and silent throne room. Her expression is calm, her eyes closed as she awaits the outcome. She sits alone, a solitary figure of immense power in her grand hall. Her eyes open, revealing a gaze that is sharp, intelligent, and knowing. Back in Eyes, Ike asks his maid Sadie about achieving complete victory. Surrounded by books, Sadie admits that she does not know the answer. Ike expected as much, as Sadie changes the subject to the sweet fruit. Pausing his meal, Ike holds a fork, lost in thought for a moment. He presents a hypothetical situation where she is caught in a fight. He clarifies it is just an example, asking what she would do. Sadie ponders the question seriously, her finger pressed to her lips. She decides she would simply smack the person with her trusty broom. She then admits that her broom probably wouldn't be of much help. Ike considers her simple answer, a thoughtful look on his face. A spark of strategic insight flashes in his eye as he understands. He realizes her answer is solid, based on the principle of advantageous distance. He explains the hierarchy of weapons, from daggers to bows, as an advantage. He wonders aloud if he should simply prepare bows for all his soldiers. His expression hardens as he immediately dismisses this simplistic idea. He knows his opponent, Bastio, would have already anticipated such a move. He tells Sadie he needs something that could defeat bows and arrows. Sadie remembers the former lord praising the awesome power of crossbows. Ike agrees that crossbows are not a bad choice for this situation, but he knows he must find something that is far more effective. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him, and he stands up with excitement. He declares their new strategy. They need to make guns. Sadie is confused by the word, as Ike emphatically confirms his idea. She asks if they are powerful, and he says they are unimaginable. He describes blasting through armor and guaranteeing kills with a single headshot. Sadie is horrified by his description, calling it a truly terrifying weapon. She asks how they could possibly make such things, but Ike has a plan. He explains that their general is an extraordinary alchemist herself. He clarifies that while her race is witch, her profession is alchemist. He is certain that she can create anything she puts her mind to. Sapphiro, relaxing in a pool, immediately refutes his confident assumption. Ike, now masked, is surprised to find her casually relaxing in a pool. She thanks him for the sunglasses, then questions his boasts about her skills. Ike dryly reminds her that he is not, in fact, a god. She says she cannot create things she has never even seen or heard of. He explains the simple mechanism: steel, explosive powder, and a bullet. Annoyed by the talk of war, she splashes a large wave of water at him. She tells him to put his plans aside and relax for a while. At the Fortress Avalon, rumors spread that Ike will participate in the battle. A subordinate assumes Sapphiro brought Ike as a replacement out of fear. Bastio warns him not to underestimate Sapphiro, as she must have a plan. The general's armored boot steps firmly onto the stone floor of the armory. They stand within the armory, surrounded by countless weapons of war. A subordinate proudly presents the newly forged and powerful dark sword. He explains it is crafted from dragon's teeth and can penetrate any defense. Bastio silently inspects the blade, considering its immense power. He deems it reliable and orders the swords to be mass-produced for his soldiers. He then corrects his order, demanding they make even more than planned. A dark elf assassin emerges from the shadows, addressing his master. The assassin reports that all of their preparations are now complete. He declares with certainty that victory in this battle will belong to Bastio. Bastio lets out a low, sinister chuckle, pleased with the news. He thanks the Demon Lord, vowing she will regret this decision in hell. The scene shifts to the quiet rooftops of an opulent building. Ike inwardly complains, unable to believe Sapphiro is still playing around. Fresh from his bath, he mutters about what an overly positive woman she is. He muses that if there is something even the general cannot handle, then only a certain powerful person would be able to help them. He steps out from the bathroom, wrapped only in a small towel. He looks around the large room, wondering where his clothes have gone. Suddenly, a frilly dress is held up directly in front of his face. He smiles, thinking he's found his clothes, but then he looks closer. He recoils in anger, realizing the absurdity of the situation. He knows it is one of Sapphiro's tricks and demands she stop. A calm voice refuses his demand, and he shouts back in frustration. His eyes widen in utter shock and terror as he sees the person. It is the Demon Lord herself, and he cries out her title in panic. She tells him there is no need to be so surprised by her presence. He panics, hoping she won't recognize him without his skeletal mask. With a single, sharp blow, she knocks the unmasked Ike unconscious. He awakens to find himself bound securely inside a large cloth bag. The Demon Lord stands over him, calmly ordering him to open the bag. She warns him not to repeat herself, and he meekly agrees to obey. His hands tremble as he begins to untie the bag's drawstring. Ike's eyes widen in sudden, dawning horror. Before him lies a pile of old, yet functional, matchlock rifles. The Demon Lord asks if these are what he has been looking for. She addresses him by his true name, Ike, asking if she is correct. Clad only in a towel, Ike is frozen, completely exposed. A single bead of sweat rolls down his face as she calls his name. He tries to deny it, stammering that he doesn't go by such a name. She tells him to stop pretending. She knows he is a reincarnated human. She continues, adding that there is still more to the story. Then, she reveals the final truth. She, too, was human in her past life. Ike's world shatters, his eyes wide with utter disbelief. He struggles to form words, questioning her impossible claim. He asks how that can be, since she is the Demon Lord. He wonders why she would help him, knowing he is a human. She explains that she has been watching him for a very long time. He can only manage a confused sound in response to her words. He asks why she would watch him, a simple human. The Demon Lord's expression is serious as she prepares her final proof. She tests his knowledge, asking if he knows of two famous Japanese warlords. Ike recognizes the names of the famous Sengoku-era warriors. He confirms he knows them, and she says this will be quick. She lists other warriors who served her, including Akechi Mitsuhide. It was thanks to them, she says, that she became a great ruler. Ike listens in stunned silence, the impossible truth sinking in. To build her ideal nation in this world, she needs a great general. She turns her gaze upon him, her purpose now clear. She declares with absolute certainty that he will do much for her. Ike is left speechless, the weight of her command settling upon him. Sometime later, the quiet rooftops of Ivalize are shown. In his study, Ike sits alone at his desk, lost in thought. He contemplates the new, dangerous reality of his situation. He marvels at how the Demon Lord, Oda Nobunaga, predicted his every move. His expression is one of deep, troubled concentration. He considers his next problem. He has no ammunition for the rifles. Sapphiro appears, presenting a large orb of material for the bullets. Ike, now masked, complains that the orb is far too large. Sapphiro playfully shrinks the material, worried about her skin drying out. Ike is satisfied, knowing they now have enough ammunition. Out in the streets, he explains the final problem is the gunpowder. He lists the necessary ingredients: carbon, sulfur, and potassium nitrate. The main issue, he notes, is acquiring the saltpeter. He explains the long, 2-year fermentation process usually required. A stray dog urinates nearby, sparking a grim and practical idea. His eyes widen in realization. He knows just where to find it. A blank panel transitions to the next scene. He leads Jiren to the oldest, most dilapidated toilet in Ivalize. A bewildered Jiren watches as Ike kneels beside the filthy wall. Ike carefully scrapes a fine, crystalline powder from the stonework. Holding the saltpeter, he declares with satisfaction that this will work. The day of the duel arrives at the massive Dvorbird arena. The arena is packed with a roaring, bloodthirsty demon crowd. The demonic spectators scream for the combatants to kill each other. A single, cloaked foot steps onto the blood-soaked arena floor. Ike enters, his 50 puppet soldiers marching silently behind him. High above, the demon lord watches from her imperial box. Her expression is cold, neutral, and completely unreadable. A close-up shows the eyes of his opponent, Bastio, filled with mockery. Ike observes him, his own expression grim and determined. Bastio lets out a confident, contemptuous laugh. He strides out from the gate, questioning Ike's strange soldiers. He asks if Ike truly intends to fight using only shields. A close-up shows Bastio's sealed, intimidating helmet. The crowd jeers, wondering if Sapphiro ran away in fear. Bastio agrees, calling her decision a wise one. He confidently declares that the outcome of the match is already clear. Ike remains silent, his single visible eye staring intently. He focuses on the gleaming armor of Bastio's knights. Bastio boasts that the armor is forged from Damascus steel. He explains that this is the highest level metal known. Therefore, no weapon Ike could possibly scratch his soldiers. Bastio takes a step forward, ready to reveal his final advantage. He grabs Ike, announcing the equipment was a gift from the Demon Lord. He sneers that the Demon Lord must want him to win. Ike looks up at the Imperial box, the truth dawning on him. The Demon Lord sits impassively on her throne, watching. Ike realizes this was a test to make the match more even. The announcer declares the rules, a 50 versus 50 battle to the last man. Bastio listens intently, a glint in his helmet. The announcer adds a final, grim warning. The loser will die. Bastio gives the order to begin combat and run them over. His archers draw their bows in perfect, deadly unison. Ike's soldiers brace themselves behind their massive shields. The volley of arrows thuds harmlessly against the impenetrable wall. An arrow strikes a puppet soldier in the head, doing no damage. Another arrow shatters against a soldier's shoulder armor. Bastio's armored knights charge, crashing against the unmoving line. A knight swings his sword, but the blow is easily deflected. The soldiers hack and slash at the puppet army. Their powerful attacks have absolutely no effect. Bastio mocks the purely defensive strategy. He taunts them, demanding that they try fighting back. He laughs, calling the pathetic display boring. A sudden bang, echoes, and a hole appears in a knight's helmet. The barrel of a rifle peeks through an opening in the shield wall. A puppet soldier is revealed, holding the smoking matchlock. Bastio can only stare in utter, dumbfounded confusion. The shield wall parts, revealing a line of riflemen. They unleash a devastating volley as Bastio screams in disbelief. The bullets tear through the supposedly invincible Damascus steel. His proud knights are ripped apart by the strange, thunderous weapons. Bastio watches in horror as his proud knights are blown to pieces. He stammers in utter disbelief, asking what that terrifying weapon is. A devastating volley tears through the supposedly invincible Damascus steel armor. Ike's puppet soldiers operate with terrifying efficiency, firing in coordinated ranks. One soldier calmly pours gunpowder down the barrel of his rifle. He then rams the bullet home with a long, thin rod. The slow-burning match cord fuses hiss, ready to ignite the charge. Taking aim, the soldier brings the smoldering fuse to the pan. With a deafening bang, another of Bastio's soldiers is blasted apart. Ike stands amidst the cacophony of gunfire, a calm specter of death. He internally identifies his strategy, the deadly two-line formation. He recalls the Battle of Nagashino, adapting the tactics for his own forces. He turns his head slightly, his attention directed elsewhere. He gazes up at the high tower of the Dvorberg arena. He knows the Demon Lord is watching and that she understands. From her box, Darokuten recognizes the historical tactics he has invented. The massacre is over. Bastio stands alone amidst the ruins of his army. The arena floor is a graveyard of broken, crumbling puppet soldiers. He cannot believe it, muttering that his soldiers were defeated. Sapphiro appears beside him, confirming his loss with cold finality. The Demon Lord Darokuten descends to the arena floor, her presence absolute. She tells the defeated general that he has two paths to choose from. He can either commit suicide and die with honor, or, she declares, she will kill him right here and now. A sphere of pure destructive energy forms in her hand. Bastio stares silently at the orb, his own demise hovering before him. A low, mocking chuckle escapes his sealed helmet. He informs the Demon Lord that he will take a different path. He will choose a path, he says, befitting a true demon. Darokuten's eyes narrow, questioning his sudden, unexpected defiance. From the stands, a hidden dark elf assassin draws his bow. His dark eyes narrow as he takes aim at the Demon Lord. With a silent command, he releases the arrow, springing the trap. The projectile streaks towards the Demon Lord and her entourage. She turns in a flash, her long hair whipping around. With contemptuous ease, she snatches the speeding arrow from the air. Her expression is one of mild annoyance at the feeble attempt. But the distraction is all Bastio needs. A massive explosion erupts. Ike is thrown back by the force of the blast. He can only stare in shock, murmuring the Demon Lord's name. The explosion rips through the arena, engulfing the royal box in flames. Ike is caught in the shockwave, surrounded by shattered demon corpses. His single eye is wide with alarm as dust and debris rain down. A dark, triumphant laugh echoes through the chaos. Bastio stands over the fallen Demon Lord, declaring himself the new ruler. The shock triggers a horrifying vision of a possible future in Ike's mind. A single, wilted flower signifies the death of hope in this dark timeline. The vision shifts to a memory of a young, lonely Ike. His grandfather Romberg approaches, asking what the boy is doing. The young Ike quickly runs after him, eager to study magic. Later, the boy asks his grandfather when he can learn a certain skill. Romberg questions why a demon would ever want to learn white magic. The title card for Chapter 9 appears, a prelude to the unfolding chaos. The dark vision continues. The arena erupts into a full-scale slaughter. Bastio's undead soldiers kill all who resist, declaring him the new leader. Ike watches the carnage unfold in this terrible potential future. His face is a grim mask, his eyes narrowed at the sight. In the vision, Bastio approaches Ike, acknowledging the bad situation. He claims the army is his and offers Ike a chance to join him. He promises to make Ike the general of the 7th Legion. Ike's eyes narrow in silent contemplation of the traitor's offer. He tells Bastio the offer is good, but is not his to make. Wreathed in dark power, Ike declares Bastio will never be Demon Lord. Bastio calls him a fool, lamenting his misplaced loyalty. He declares that this is where Ike will meet his end. Ike's eye widens as the undead army swarms him. He unleashes a powerful sonic boom, blasting the skeletons back. The force of the spell shatters the puppet's soldiers into pieces. He follows up with a dark lance, skewering more of the undead. A spectral skull appears, as he prepares another devastating attack. He unleashes a wave of destructive energy from the tip of his staff. An undead soldier gets through, its sword striking Ike's hood. He is thrown back, staggering under the weight of multiple attacks. One of Bastio's soldiers prepares a powerful magical attack. The magic hits Ike, throwing him off balance in the melee. The undead soldiers close in, overwhelming him with their numbers. They hack and slash at him from all sides, a tide of bone and steel. He is completely surrounded by the relentless, shambling horde. His gaze is filled with grim determination in his final moments. Bastio unleashes his own spell, Death Rain, upon the struggling Ike. The dark energy slams into the arena walls with devastating force. Bastio stands amidst the destruction, his power absolute in this vision. He watches the aftermath of his spell with cold, cruel satisfaction. Ike is thrown through the air, his body broken and defeated. Bastio unleashes his final attack, a powerful and decisive hellblast. The blast engulfs Ike, sealing his fate in the dark premonition. Bastio steps over Ike's fallen, lifeless hand, victorious. The vision ends with Ike's body lying amidst a field of corpses. Reality snaps back into focus. Ike stands on the arena floor unharmed. Bastio's empty helmet rolls across the dirt towards him. Ike calmly stops the rolling helmet with the toe of his boot. His eyes are dark and shadowed under his hood, watching intently. He looks down at the helmet resting against his foot. He asks the empty helmet if it truly thought this was the end. Ike's eyes suddenly widen in surprise, sensing something amiss. The headless body of Bastio appears behind him, sword raised to strike. Ike turns, shocked by the surprise attack from the true Delahan. The ground trembles as the puppet soldiers begin to reanimate. The broken pieces crawl back together, forming a new undead army. Ike faces the rising horde, remarking that this is too bad. An attack slides harmlessly past Ike, who states such a blow won't stop them. Bastio reveals his true power. He is a Dullahan, and his soldiers are undead. Ike's skeletal face shows grim determination. He was prepared for this. With a mighty boom, he unleashes a powerful blast, sending skeletons flying. He stands ready with his staff, observing the effect of his initial attack. Ike casts a new spell, instantly freezing a charging skeleton warrior solid. With a sharp crack, the frozen undead warrior shatters into countless shards of ice. Ike smashes another soldier, surprised by the seemingly endless horde. He continues his relentless assault, his staff a blur against the undead. A pained grunt escapes Ike as the sheer number of foes presses in. The undead horde swarms him, their bony hands and rusted blades reaching for him. Ike's single visible eye glows with power as he prepares a countermeasure. He unleashes Hypersense, a wave of energy that blasts the horde back. The skulls of the undead crack under the immense pressure of his spell. A powerful impact sends Ike stumbling back, caught off guard by the relentless assault. He lets out a strained cry, momentarily overwhelmed by the force of the blow. The undead legion continues its inexorable advance across the ruined arena floor. Bastio declares that Ike will never be able to stop his undead legion. He laments that it is regrettable for such a talented commander to be destroyed. Bastio muses he would have put Ike to good use as his own subordinate. A massive explosion erupts from above, engulfing Ike in fire and debris. From the upper levels, a dark elf archer calmly releases his arrow. The archer smirks, confident that his powerful shot has found its mark. Bastio's undead forces stand ready amidst the smoke, awaiting their next command. The dust begins to settle, revealing an empty space where Ike once stood. Ike floats in the air, asking Bastio if he really thought he was dead. Panting, Ike admits his title as captain of the Undying Brigade isn't for nothing. Bastio calmly asks if his struggle isn't ultimately futile against such overwhelming odds. Surrounded by enemies, Ike declares that it is time to end this battle. The undead close in, their blades clashing against his desperate magical defenses. Ike realizes he'll run out of magic and needs a better way to win. He knows dark magic is weak against the undead, who are just moving corpses. The word corpses sparks a crucial memory from deep within his mind. He recalls the concept of white magic, with its powerful holy attributes. A vision of a cliffside home appears as he remembers its difficulty for demons. His grandfather, Romberg, once told a young Ike that he might be different. Romberg had smiled, saying that Ike possessed a human heart. Ike's single eye sharpens with a newfound resolve. This is the key. He summons a brilliant light, unleashing the forbidden power of white magic. Ike stands between two dissolving skeletons, his holy power radiating outwards. His eyes are filled with intense focus as he channels the pure energy. He casts Turn Undead, a wave of light washing over the reanimated corpses. An undead skull begins to fade, dissolving into dust in utter surprise. Another undead warrior on horseback also fades away into nothingness. Bastio watches in absolute disbelief, stammering in confusion at the sight. Ike holds the holy light, as Bastio demands to know why he can use it. The skeleton skull completely disintegrates, blowing away on an unseen wind. The last traces of the undead legion vanish in a motes of black dust. Bastio stands utterly alone amidst the swirling dust of his annihilated army. He can only ask what in his complete and profound shock. The entire legion dissolves around him, their unholy existence completely erased. From high above, the dark elf archer prepares another shot at his target. Ike is briefly seen amidst the rubble from the previous explosion. The archer's cold, dark eyes focus on the battlefield below. His bowstring is suddenly severed with a clean and silent slice. The dark elf's eye widens in shock at the sudden, unseen intervention. General Sapphiro appears, obliterating the archer with a powerful magical blast. Sapphiro smiles coolly, announcing that she has kept them waiting. Lilies confirms that they have finished cleaning up the traitors outside the arena. Bastio is stunned by the sudden and unwelcome appearance of General Sapphiro. The Demon Lord tells Bastio not to worry, as his opponent is still Ike. Bastio looks up to see the Demon Lord perched atop a ruined pillar. He stammers her title in disbelief as she looks down on him with disdain. She takes a single, deliberate step down onto the blood-soaked arena floor. The Demon Lord informs Bastio that she will give him one final chance. She offers him a duel with Ike. If he wins, his life will be spared. Bastio scoffs at the seemingly absurd offer, letting out a short "huh." He turns his attention from the Demon Lord to his true opponent, Ike. Ike stands alone, surrounded by the broken bodies of the puppet soldiers. The Demon Lord and Bastio face each other, the terms of the duel set. Bastio lets out a guttural sound of pure frustration and unbridled rage. Igniting his dark sword, he vows to clean Ike up right away. With a furious scream that echoes through the arena, he commands Ike to die. He charges, his flaming sword clashing against Ike's powerful magical barrier. The impact of their clashing powers sends a shockwave across the arena floor. Bastio curses Ike, calling him a bastard for withstanding his furious assault. He screams at Ike not to push his luck and unleashes his Demon Buster. The devastating Demon Buster attack fills the panel with destructive energy. Ike stands firm, his magic deflecting the shattered shards of the attack. Bastio roars that he is far stronger than his opponent. He declares his unwavering intent to kill Ike right here and now. Ike taunts him, saying he should blame the Demon Lord for this unfair fight. He goads Bastio further, asking why he doesn't try begging for his life. Enraged beyond reason, Bastio lunges forward in a furious, desperate attack. Ike calmly prepares his counter-move as Bastio closes the final distance. Bastio screams that Ike is a fool for having provoked his wrath. Ike releases a small, glowing orb from the head of his staff. The orb flies towards Bastio, a tiny projectile amidst the battlefield's chaos. The glowing orb streaks across the arena floor, a simple feint. It detonates in a massive kaboom, blinding Bastio in a flash of light. Bastio stumbles through the rain of debris, momentarily disoriented by the blast. He is left utterly speechless by the sudden and blinding counterattack. Ike appears beside him, stating his ambition of becoming Demon Lord was too great. Bastio can only utter Ike's name in his final, dawning moment of defeat. Ike declares that this is the end for the traitorous general. Bastio's body begins to crumble, dissolving into black particles from his feet up. He screams in disbelief, asking what the hell is happening to his body. Ike looks on as Bastio mutters that this isn't possible, that he can't lose. Bastio's empty helmet falls to the ground with a final, metallic clunk. Ike stands victorious, his opponent's helmet lying defeated at his feet. Ike's masked eyes narrow, focusing on the aftermath of the rebellion. Sapphiro's pointed question hangs in the air. Since when could he use white magic? He addresses his superior, arms crossed, as she awaits his answer. She dismisses the question, stating that everything worked out in the end. Ike remains silent, his skeletal visage revealing nothing of his thoughts. Sapphiro's eyes narrow. She knows he anticipated this outcome from the start. He counters that she was also preparing, but since he won, there's no problem. A new voice cuts in, declaring that there is, in fact, a problem. Sapphiro is surprised, recognizing the voice of the demon Lord Darrow-Kitten. Darrow-Kitten announces that with Bastio's rebellion, the Third Legion has no commander. She declares that Ike must take responsibility for the entire matter. Ike's single visible eye widens in shock at her pronouncement. He turns to her, questioning what she means by responsibility. The demon lord looks upon him, her expression calm and unyielding. She delivers his fate. Ike will become the general of the Third Legion. His eyes are wide with disbelief at the stunning, unexpected command. His single, shocked word echoes through the ruined arena. What? The scene shifts from the arena's ruins to a peaceful, cloudy sky. Below, the bustling town of Ivalize thrives, a testament to his work. The camera pans over the rooftops, nestled against a verdant, rocky hill. On that hill, Ike sits unmasked, looking out over the home he has built. He contemplates his future, petals drifting around him on the gentle breeze. His human eye is filled with deep thought, carrying the weight of his burdens. His maid, Sadie, approaches from behind, finding her master in his solitude. She asks if he is troubled, noting his pensive mood since the duel. Her wide eyes show concern. She knew something was on his mind. He turns to her with a smile, changing the subject to a brighter future. Sadie is utterly confused by his sudden talk of four-field rotation farming. He explains it's a way to grow crops continuously without letting the land rest. Simply put, she will soon be able to eat as many turnips as she wants. This is good, he muses, because they're all going to be very busy. The peaceful town square below is a picture of his dream of coexistence. He and Sadie stand together on the hill, watching over their city. In the streets, humans and orcs work together, rebuilding their shared home. An orc and a human carry supplies, a living symbol of cooperation. Ike looks on with a gentle, satisfied smile, his vision becoming reality. The scene shifts to the dark castle, where Sapphiro's angry voice rings out. She argues that as his superior, she alone has authority over his personnel affairs. She stands defiantly before the demon lord, who has her back to her. The demon lord expresses surprise, having thought Sapphiro would approve of the promotion. She turns to face her general, her expression cool as she poses a question. She asks if Ike is not also her subordinate, leaving Sapphiro speechless. In a moment of pure frustration, Sapphiro shouts that Ike is hers. Her expression is set, determined to win this battle of wills. The demon lord stands silently, her long hair obscuring her face. Sapphiro decides they should let Ike himself answer the question. A footstep is heard as Ike is summoned into the tense throne room. Sapphiro calls his name as he stands before them in his intimidating guise. The demon lord asks him directly if he has finally made his decision. Ike pauses, the the weight of the choice clear in his masked gaze. He begins to speak, not of legions, but of the progress in his city. He explains how his people, human and demon, are learning to live together. Sapphiro, sensing his intention, tries to interject, her voice laced with panic. The demon lord remains impassive, listening to his plea from the window. With a quiet sound, Ike's skeletal hands reach up and lift his mask. Unmasked, he asks the demon lord's forgiveness, vowing to learn more from Sapphiro. In exchange for her mercy, the demon lord states he must make a promise. Sapphiro's eye widens, watching the incredible scene unfold before her. Over an image of Evil Eyes, he vows to make it the first city of coexistence. His human face is filled with quiet determination as he makes his pledge. The demon lord listens, her hair flowing as she considers his bold oath. Ike and Sapphiro stand before her, awaiting her final, binding judgment. From the grand hall, her voice echoes, sealing his vow. So be it. The scene shifts to a desolate, rocky landscape under a dark, foreboding sky. Sapphiro furiously demands to know why he revealed his identity to the demon lord. He tells her to quiet down, while she wonders why their sovereign wasn't surprised. An eagle soars high in the sky, a silent witness to the world's turmoil. It glides gracefully, its powerful wings spread wide against the clouds. Below, a human city is engulfed in explosions as war rages on. A monstrous demon slaughters human soldiers, holding a severed head as a trophy. The creature roars a simple, brutal command to its minions. Kill them all. A human commander rallies his men, telling them to show the demons true terror. A horde of savage orcs overwhelms a small group of human soldiers. The monstrous demon stands tall amidst the carnage, a terrifying specter of death. Its eyes narrow, filled with bloodlust and contempt for its victims. A new figure descends upon the battlefield, scattering the demonic forces. The camera focuses on the armored boot of the descending warrior. The hero, a silhouette of light, confronts the demon in the shadows. A massive blast of divine energy erupts, engulfing the battlefield in pure light. The defeated demon lies in the dust as the hero declares its tyranny is over. The hero, a handsome young man, announces that he has finally appeared. A series of rapid impacts are shown with explosive sound effects. Particles scatter, signifying the complete disintegration of Bastio's army. The shattered remains of the Dullahan's helmet lie broken on the ground. The dust continues to settle from the final, decisive blow of the battle. A swirling vortex of energy marks the end of the rebellion. Ike stands alone in the vast arena, victorious but weary. In a flashback, he explains his dream of a world without hunger, making Sadie smile. Sadie marvels at the concept of four-field rotation farming as Ike explains it. She looks up in surprise, a sudden thought occurring to her. Ike turns and congratulates Jiren on his promotion to vice commander. He sheepishly admits that the position just happened to be empty at the time. Jiren runs towards them, waving frantically and shouting about big trouble. Ike calmly asks what has his new vice commander in such a panic. Sadie is shocked to learn that Jiren has received such a high-ranking post. Jiren apologizes profusely for his informal address and offers to be punished. Ike dismisses his panic and asks about the big trouble he mentioned. Jiren's memory is jogged, his expression turning serious once more. He stands before his commander, trying to recall his urgent message. A title page shows Ike, Sapphiro, and Jiren, ready for the next chapter. Over the rooftops of Evil Eyes, a voice notes the Royal Alliance Army is mobilizing. Jiren anxiously reports to a silent Ike that the Second Legion was wiped out. He sweats, predicting with fear that their own city is the enemy's next target. Jiren asks if Ike is sure they can handle this, but the strategist remains calm. Ike knows the fortress of Arsenum is the true objective for the human alliance. Leaning forward, Jiren desperately asks if things will truly be fine this time. Ike, deep in thought, states he must now devise some effective countermeasures. He understands that if their city of Evil Eyes falls, Arsenum will be in danger. Fiorentina, the 7th Legion alchemist, declares mass-producing matchlocks is impossible. Ike asks for the reason. As Fiorentina explains, she has tried making imitations. She demonstrates by firing a copy, which violently explodes in her hands. With a grim look, she explains that after firing just a single shot, she holds up the shattered remains of the rifle, its stock completely splintered. The entire weapon breaks apart. Ike and Sapphiro listen intently. She concludes alchemy can only create weak imitations of the precise weapon. Ike examines a suit of armor that was used for a power test. A tiny dent is visible. He notes that the alchemical rifle's power is weak. Sapphiro asks about using magic, but Ike explains he cannot directly participate. With a thoughtful expression, Sapphiro says there is one other method she can imagine. Fiorentina explains the rifle's metal and wooden parts must be crafted. She demonstrates by carving a piece of wood with a small knife. The individual components, she says, must be built one by one and then assembled. Ike wonders how they could possibly create the small, intricate metal pieces. Sapphiro gives him a knowing look, suggesting someone exists who can make them. Ike immediately realizes her meaning, asking if she is referring to a dwarf. She confirms that if it is a dwarf, then it might just be possible. The dwarves, she explains, became nomads after losing the last war with humans. She notes they will need many dwarves to make mass production a reality. Fiorentina listens silently, her expression serious as the plan takes shape. Sapphiro reveals their target, the Dwarf King, currently held in a human prison. The king sits in chains, captive in the Isthmus Kingdom, their only hope. A close-up shows the king's face, weary from imprisonment, but still defiant. The scene shifts violently. Blood splatters across the screen. The aftermath of a brutal confrontation is shown, with dwarves lying defeated. A human commander taunts them, saying they should have listened from the start. He stands over the fallen, saying they wouldn't be in this mess if they'd obeyed. The commander smirks, complaining that they have made him waste his time. The Dwarf King, seated on the floor, furiously tells the commander to shut up. He roars defiantly, vowing to never let humans use dwarven technology in war. The commander looks utterly bored, telling the proud king to just go home. As a final threat, he slams his sword into the stone floor before the king. He laughs at the king's futile defiance, his arrogance on full display. Propping his boot on the sword, he asks if the king still doesn't get it. The commander tells the sweating, cornered king that he has no other choice. To prove his point, guards drag the king's son, Batson, forward at knife point. The king pleads for his son's life, as the commander chuckles cruelly. The commander tells the anguished king that this is his final chance. He gives his ultimatum: use dwarven powers for the Isthmus Kingdom. If he complies, he says their lives will be spared. The king is defeated. The scene transitions to the dark confines of the prison. The king now sits alone in his cell, his spirit finally broken. His face is a mask of utter despair and hopelessness. He hears a strange, disembodied laugh and looks up in confusion. Gripping the bars of his cell, he peers out into the dark corridor. He sees two guards collapsed on the floor, still chuckling mindlessly. He stares in utter bewilderment at the bizarre, impossible scene. A voice from the shadows tells him that they have finally found him. The succubus Lilies hangs upside down, asking if he is indeed the Dwarf King. The king's face contorts in terror, realizing he is now facing a demon. Lilies casually picks the lock on his cell door with a thin piece of metal. The door swings open, and she invites the stunned king to come with her. He hesitates, asking why a demon is helping him, but she dismisses his concerns. He presses the question again, demanding to know her purpose. Annoyed, Lilies uses her succubus powers, and the king's mind goes blank. His eyes turn completely white as he falls under her irresistible charm. The enchanted king collapses to the stone floor, completely unconscious. He lies in a heap, laughing softly to himself in his dazed state. Jiren, in disguise, asks what happened. Lily says she got annoyed by his questions. Jiren sighs, saying they should just get the king out of there already. The two demons move cautiously down an empty prison corridor. Jiren carefully peeks around a corner, checking if the path ahead is clear. He confirms to Lilies that there is no one in sight. As Jiren carries the king, Lilies complains about the boring lack of security. Suddenly, a human guard asks his partner if he smells something strange. The other guard agrees it's an ugly smell, threateningly asking if he wants to die. Jiren grumbles that Lilies' strong scent has given them away. Two guards advance with spears as Lilies comments on how lively they look. She leans forward provocatively, declaring that they will make a fine meal. In an instant, the guard are drained of their life force, their eyes white. Jiren reminds her of Ike's order to avoid fights, but Lilies just giggles. Jiren smirks, asking if she's going to tattle on him for his own actions. A lone guard charges them, screaming for the monsters to stop right there. As the guard screams for them to die, Jiren looks momentarily surprised. He unleashes an invisible blast of force, smashing the guard into a brick wall. Jiren mutters under his breath, annoyed that a mere human dared to attack them. He then lets out a small, realizing he just broke Ike's direct order. Lilies teases him, asking what happened to his rule about unnecessary fights. The commotion attracts attention as a cellar door creaks open nearby. A large contingent of human soldiers looks up, confused by the noise. Jiren curses his luck, realizing they have been completely surrounded. He yells at Lilies to do something as she thanks the soldiers for the reception. Lily smiles confidently, assuring him that she knows exactly what to do. She unleashes her Queen's Drain, a vortex of energy that engulfs the soldiers. She declares her promise to Ike means she will ensure they are not killed. The view shifts to a town square, now swarming with Alliance soldiers. On a nearby rooftop, Ike watches the scene below, cloaked and in human form. He pulls his skeletal mask into place, his determined human eye visible for a moment. Lilies lands, wondering why so many Royal Alliance soldiers have gathered. A human commander points them out, roaring for his men not to let them escape. A human soldier looks back, his face a mask of shock and terror. The hulking, bandaged Jiren crashes through a wall, using the debris as a shield. Looking down at his handiwork, Jiren seems momentarily confused by the destruction. He surveys the ruined town street he created, wondering what this place is. Ike calmly congratulates his two operatives as Lilies fawns over him with adoration. He asks if the mission went smoothly, and Jiren confirms it was without problems. The mission is revealed. The Dwarf King is slung over Jiren's shoulder. Lilies lovingly asks if this impressive display of chaos was Ike's doing. Puckering her lips, she then requests a celebratory reunion kiss from her master. The captured king weakly protests being treated in such an undignified manner. Later, under the quiet rooftops of Ivalize, the king is brought to a room. The Dwarf King, Gunther, lies in a comfortable bed, beginning to recover. He lets out a low groan as he stirs, his eyes fluttering open. A quiet voice asks if he is awake as he groggily pushes himself up. The skeletal figure of Ike stands before him, addressing him as Dwarf King Gunther. Gunther, now more alert, demands to know why a demon rescued him. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he insists on hearing the reason. Ike offers no words, instead materializing a glowing matchlock rifle before him. He asks the master craftsman if he can forge an identical copy of it. Gunther's expert eyes narrow, immediately appraising the unfamiliar weapon's design. He murmurs that its shape is both simple and complex, unlike anything he's seen. He declares with confidence that while it will take time, he can certainly make it. His suspicion returns as he asks why demons would need such a thing. Ike's dark eyes stare back, ready to reveal his true, unconventional purpose. He acknowledges that the dwarf's question is a perfectly valid one. He explains the weapon is necessary for his ideals, peace between humans and demons. A baffled Gunther asks what on earth he could possibly be talking about. Ike simply gestures for the confused king to follow him outside. In the streets, a human girl and an orc hang laundry together. Elsewhere, human children gather curiously around a skeleton and an orc. The city square is a bustling scene of humans and demons living in harmony. Gunther stares at the impossible sight, utterly speechless at what he is witnessing. Ike states his ultimate goal, for both demons and humans to live together in peace. A small, amused smile touches Gunther's lips. He finds the notion interesting, but his doubt returns, admitting that he still does not understand. He recalls how humans used his people, then destroyed them, asking why he should help. Ike's expression hardens, ready to make his final, most compelling offer. He asks what Gunther would do if he could help his people regain their peace. He promises to help rebuild the dwarven country if Gunther mass-produces the rifles. Gunther's eye widens, shocked and disbelieving of the audacious promise. He explodes in anger, accusing Ike of joking and demanding he stop. A sudden call of his name interrupts his furious outburst. Ike challenges him to see for himself whether he is joking or not. Gunther turns his head, his expression shifting from rage to confusion. A large crowd of his own people, the rescued dwarves, stands waiting for him. They cry out his name, their faces alight with joy and relief. He sees his son, Batson, and stammers his name in utter disbelief. Ike stands silently behind him, letting the weight of the moment sink in. Ike's gaze is serious, patiently awaiting the king's final decision. Gunther turns back, composed now, ready to hear the offer one last time. Ike asks if he will cooperate with his ambitions for a new world. The dwarf king looks at him, a long, thoughtful silence hanging in the air. In a human war tent, a commander asks for the size of Ivalice's military. A subordinate reports their forces are estimated to be only 500 soldiers. This number is confirmed as correct based on their previous battle. The commander then asks about their own force, having organized 12 battalions. A vast human army, 12,000 strong, prepares for the coming war. The smug commander smiles, giving the order for his massive army to depart. Back in Ivalice, Ike stands over a war map, finalizing his own strategy. The sounds of industry begin as metal is shaped and prepared for forging. In a massive forge, dwarven blacksmiths work tirelessly, their hammers ringing on steel. Gunther himself works the anvil, his face a mask of intense concentration. Sweat beads on his brow as he focuses on his vital craft. A young dwarf looks upon their finished work, a rack of newly made rifles. The scene shifts to the rugged, forested mountains, a new mission underway. Ike and a young dwarven apprentice walk along a remote forest path. They are searching for a key resource to fuel their new war machine. Ike's skeletal face is set with grim determination as they proceed. They arrive at a dark cave entrance hidden in a rocky cliff face. Inside, the cave is a vast grotto filled with crystalline stalactites. The young dwarf looks around, impressed by the natural wonder of the cavern. Ike confirms they have found it, a rich, natural source of saltpeter. A moment of quiet anticipation hangs in the air before the coming storm. In a clearing, a line of demon soldiers kneels, aiming their new rifles. A commander instructs them to load their gunpowder and light the matchlocks. With a fanged snarl, the commander screams the order to fire. The volley of bullets tears through thick wooden targets with devastating force. The scene transitions to an opulent, book-lined office within the fortress. Ike's commanders have gathered for a final war council before the battle. Gamos, the troll commander, asks when Ike managed to fix the castle gates. Bade, the werewolf commander, grins, noting Ike was always good at such things. Fiorentina, the alchemist, states that she was the one who made the gunpowder. Suddenly, the large doors to the office are smashed open with a crash. A massive manticore, Kashana, enters, greeting Ike as vice commander. Ike tells the old beast to simply call him by his name, as always. Fiorentina briefs the newcomer on their opponent, an army of over 10,000 men. Ike stands before them, confirming their own forces number only 2,000. Bade, baring his sharp teeth, eagerly asks what their orders are. Ike's dark eyes narrow, ready to reveal his audacious and risky plan. Kushana corrects himself, properly addressing Ike by his new, formal title. Ike declares that their strategy for the coming battle will be a blitzkrieg. He explains the goal, to shatter the enemy's fighting spirit with minimal damage. The city of Evil Eyes stands ready, a bastion of hope against the coming tide. The dwarves continue their tireless work, their forges burning hot into the night. Gunther's face is grim, fully aware of the stakes of their vital work. The demon army continues their training, firing in disciplined, thunderous volleys. The soldiers reload their weapons, their faces set with cold determination. Alone in his office, Ike sits in the dark, contemplating the coming battle. Unmasked, his human face is a study of quiet, focused resolve. The final scene shows the rugged mountain range, the stage for the coming war. Deep within a quiet forest, sunlight filters through the dense leaves. The sun rises over the mountain-ringed city of Evil Eyes. On the fortress walls, grim orc sentries stand their watch. A close-up reveals the orcs' brutish, determined faces. A sentry spots the enemy, announcing that they have arrived. An endless sea of armored soldiers, the Alliance of Kings, appears. The demon defenders of Evil Eyes gather on the ramparts, ready. Suddy and the masked Ike watch the approaching human tide. Ike knows that if Evil Eyes falls, Arsenal will be next. He and his commanders resolve to protect the city with their lives. The human army views the fortress through a forest of spears. The human general notes the fortress is much smaller than he expected. Mounted on his warhorse, he expresses his disappointment with the sight. His subordinate turns to him, awaiting the command to attack. The human soldiers stand in perfect formation, their halberds held high. Massive wooden catapults are wheeled into position for the siege. The disciplined ranks of human spearmen prepare for the assault. A bearded human soldier stands grimly, ready for the coming battle. The general gives a single, contemptuous order to crush them. With a unified roar, the soldiers are ordered to advance and attack. The catapults fire with a thunderous crack, launching their payload. Massive stones arc through the air, aimed at the main gate. The orc defenders on the wall brace themselves for the impact. The stones slam into an invisible barrier, shattering into dust. The human general watches the unexpected defense from his horse. He recognizes the magical defense, questioning if it is a barrier. High above, Ike leaps into the air from the fortress keep. He floats above the wall, his Ouroboros staff glowing with power. From behind, Ike looks down upon the vast human army below. A close-up shows the glowing orb at the heart of his staff. The human soldiers on the field suddenly feel the ground tremble. Cracks begin to form in the earth beneath their very feet. The ground erupts, splitting open into a massive, dark chasm. A soldier cries out in terror as the ground gives way. Soldiers lose their footing, beginning to fall into the abyss. They scream in agony as they are swallowed by the darkness. The general's subordinate frantically asks him for new directions. Unfazed, the general coldly orders all of his forces to charge. The subordinate is stunned into silence by the brutal command. The command is relayed, and the human army surges forward again. On the wall, a colossal demon giant lifts a massive boulder. He hurls the house-sized rock towards the charging human ranks. The human soldiers look up in horror at the impending doom. The boulder descends upon them, about to crush hundreds of men. Two human mages, one old and one young, step forward. They prepare to unleash a powerful counterspell against the attack. The young woman cries, "Fireball," launching a torrent of magical flame. The fireball collides with the boulder, causing a massive explosion. The demon giant on the wall roars in pain from backlash. The explosion rips through the demon defenders on the rampart. The battle settles into a brutal stalemate along the fortress walls. The human general's eyes look on, detached from the carnage. The old human mage is thrown back by his own spell's force. He crashes to the ground amidst a shower of magical debris. Ike floats above, observing the powerful human mages below. A close-up reveals Ike's skeletal face, his expression unreadable. The two human mages stand ready for the next engagement. The general notes that at this rate, the siege will take time. He casually asks his subordinate what is for dinner tonight. The subordinate admits that he is also getting a little hungry. The general decides to bring up another catapult to speed things up. His subordinate warns that firing now would cause friendly casualties. The general, with chilling indifference, gives the order to fire. The subordinate is horrified into silence by his commander's callousness. Human soldiers are already scaling the walls as the order is given. Orcs and humans clash in brutal melee combat on the ramparts. An orc roars as it prepares to strike down a human knight. The catapult stone smashes into the wall, obliterating everything. Human soldiers are thrown through the air by the indiscriminate blast. Demons are also caught in the explosion, their bodies torn apart. The fortress wall crumbles under the weight of the friendly fire. Ike looks on as the human mages stand amidst the chaos. Ike's skeletal face twists into a grimace of determination. A massive breach has been torn in the walls of Evil Eyes. A human soldier lies dead or dying amidst the rubble. The ground is littered with the bodies of the fallen soldiers. A lone demon stands amidst the carnage on the ruined wall. Ike's single visible eye glares out from beneath his dark hood. The human general wears a small, cruel smile of satisfaction. He orders all his forces to advance through the new breach. The scene shifts to the quiet, sun-dappled trees of a forest. The peaceful woods stand in stark contrast to the battlefield. Sapphiro stands before the massive, dead body of a spider-like monster. She realizes the creature was used as bait to lure her away. The prophesied hero stands over the monster's corpse, his trap successful. The hero asks if she was the one who called him here. Sapphiro returns the question, asking if he called her out here. They face each other over the body of the monstrous bait. Sapphiro admits she wanted to see the legendary hero for herself. She confirms his identity as the hero everyone has been talking about. The hero's expression hardens as he prepares to attack Sapphiro. An explosion of dark energy erupts from deep in the forest. A cage of sharp, black spikes bursts from the forest floor. Sapphiro is trapped within the magical prison of thorns. The hero mocks her, saying she is too cocky for a human. He warns her not to underestimate humans, his own power crackling. Sapphiro is stunned, realizing the hero thinks she is human. Back at the breach, an orc is skewered by multiple arrows. The fighting is a chaotic, brutal meat grinder in the narrow gap. An orc commander roars for his troops not to let them inside. A desperate command is issued from within the demon ranks. From the demon's perspective, a vast human army approaches. Heavily armored human knights charge forward into the fray. Hulking orcs, bristling with arrows, clash with the soldiers. An orc brings a massive stone club down upon the knights. A warrior orc roars in pain, pierced by multiple arrows. The brutal melee continues, a chaotic clash of steel and flesh. Vice Commander Jiren stands grimly amidst his troops. Jiren curses, frustrated that the melee has become a stalemate. The werewolf commander, Bade, roars for everyone to clear a path. The human soldiers brace as a new, savage threat rushes them. Bade leaps into the human ranks, a whirlwind of claws and fury. He snarls at his brigade, telling them to follow his movements. The werewolves descend, turning the battle into a bloody slaughter. High on a ruined wall, the alchemist Fiorentina watches the chaos. She stands impassively, flanked by orcs, ready to intervene. She prepares her spell, Alchemy, Demon Spikes, gathering dark energy. She hurls a thorny orb of alchemical energy towards the breach. The dark orb lands amidst the rubble and human soldiers. It erupts in a flash of transmutative power. A massive explosion rips through the fortress wall. Jiren looks on with a stunned and horrified expression. His mouth is agape, his eyes wide with disbelief. The breach in the wall is filled with a dense, thorny barricade. The demon soldiers on the wall react to another threat. A massive orc commander declares he can hold his position no longer. He announces that his forces will now join the battle directly. Fiorentina watches as the orc commander prepares to attack. She wonders what they are doing, having just sealed the wall. A human soldier charges at her, screaming for her death. He is suddenly struck, a bloody hole torn through his chest. He collapses at her feet as Jiren and his soldiers appear. Jiren orders all soldiers to prepare for a counterattack. With a deafening cry, a volley of gunfire erupts from the walls. The demon soldiers fire their newly forged matchlock rifles in unison. The human knights are torn apart by the unfamiliar weapons. A soldier screams in terror, wondering what these weapons are. The human army prepares another catapult for a counterattack. They declare it is time for their own counterattack. The human soldiers look up as debris rains from the sky. A soldier looks up in fear, asking what is happening. A massive, winged shadow falls over the human army. The Manticore commander, Kushana, smashes into the human ranks. The human general watches the chaos from his command post. His subordinate urges him to fall back to a safer position. The subordinate recommends that the general change his decision. The general coldly tells his subordinate not to talk back. He worries about his reputation if he fails to take the city. He dismisses his subordinate's concerns and orders him to proceed. The entire human army surges forward in a final, massive charge. The human knights rush towards the waiting demon forces. The two armies meet in a brutal collision of steel. Orcs swing their weapons, surrounded by human soldiers. An orc sinks its teeth into a knight's neck in the chaos. Kushana hovers over the battlefield, ready to strike again. Fiorentina watches the slaughter, a hint of concern on her face. The massive orc commander continues his rampage, covered in wounds. A long-haired demon giant hurls a massive boulder. Two human mages intercept the boulder with a blast of fire. From high above, Ike's skeletal eye observes the entire battle. Jiren and Fiorentina watch as the boulder explodes midair. Jiren worries about their chances, given the enemy's numbers. He suggests retreating, a notion that shocks Fiorentina. Jiren is flustered by her sharp reaction to his suggestion. Fiorentina looks on, determined to see the battle through. The battle rages, a massive chasm splitting the field. Human soldiers scream as they fall into the magical fissure. The ground continues to crumble beneath the human army. The mages are thrown to the ground by the magical feedback. The young female mage lies unconscious from the blast. The older male mage is also down, but appears conscious. The general and his subordinate ride through the chaos. He looks at the chasm, bewildered by the magical attack. The subordinate is nearly thrown from his horse by an aftershock. The general's horse rears, and he is thrown to the ground. He crashes to the earth amidst the chaos of the battle. The general staggers to his feet, looking around the battlefield. He grunts as he sees a horse galloping away in the distance. He looks up to see the cloaked, skeletal figure of Ike on a cliff. Ike declares that killing the commander will end the battle. The general looks up, his expression a mix of defiance and fear. Ike offers a chance to withdraw peacefully from the battle. He finishes his offer, promising to spare the general's life. The general finds the mercy of a demon to be amusing. He scoffs, asking who would give the order to retreat. Ike's single eye glares down, his patience wearing thin. The general says it can't be helped, confused by a new presence. The dwarf king, Gunther, appears, running the general through. The general's eyes widen in shock as blood splatters across him. Gunther lets out a roar of pure, vengeful rage. He stares into the general's eyes, asking if he is remembered. He vows to repay the general for his past suffering. He raises a heavy axe, screaming for the general to die. His axe is stopped mid-swing by an unseen force. He looks on in confusion, his arm trembling with effort. Ike has appeared, demanding to know what he is doing. Gunther furiously tells the demon commander not to stop him. Ike tells the dwarf king that he must make a decision now. The first option is to die here for the sake of revenge. The second option is to fall back and live to fight another day. A single, mournful note from a war horn signals the army's next move. The commands echo through the ranks of the human soldiers. Retreat. Withdraw now. A soldier wonders why they're suddenly falling back, his comrade understanding why. He sees their proud army being completely overwhelmed and systematically slaughtered. A subordinate cries out in despair, supporting his wounded and defeated general. The soldiers look up, their formation broken, their faces filled with terror. The colossal manticore commander, Kushana, descends upon the terrified human army. The demon mockingly asks the fleeing soldiers if they are running away. A soldier's courage shatters completely, and he screams to God for help. Panic spreads as the last of the soldiers break and flee the battlefield. From a high cliff, a hooded figure watches the entire army retreat. The strategist Ike stands beside the grim-faced dwarf king, Gunther. Gunther states with certainty that the human army will return another time. He warns Ike that a day will come when he regrets his choice. Ike remains silent, his skeletal mask hiding his thoughts on the matter. From the battlefield below, joyous voices call out to their vice commander. Jiren, Sadie, and Lilies run to him, cheering their hard-won victory. Ike looks down at his celebrating subordinates, his expression still unreadable. Their faces are filled with joy and relief after the brutal battle. His gaze, however, is fixed on the future, filled with grim determination. He vows that they will be stronger the next time the enemy returns. Far away from the battlefield, the scene shifts to a distant mountain. Deep within a sun-dappled forest, Sephiroth's voice cuts through the silence. She looks upon the defeated hero, impaled on a bed of spikes. She acknowledges his potential, musing that he could have become even stronger. However, she declares there is only one human she truly approves of. She tells the dying hero she has no more use for him. Sometime later, Sadie asks about their destination, the land of Zenobia. Ike explains that it is a powerful confederation of independent cities. She understands it is a trade federation, flourishing with exotic goods. Sadie wonders if that means there will be plenty of fresh food. Ike looks ahead, knowing the city offers much more than just produce. He explains that in Zenobia, one can get anything and everything. Their journey to this new land was set in motion days earlier. 1 week ago, Sephiroth had given Ike his next critical mission. She explained that she expects a new kind of attack on them soon. Ike understood. Though they repelled the military assault, the war was not over. He realized they would need to set up countermeasures immediately. Sephiroth praised his quick thinking, confirming his fears about their financial situation. Their supply routes were cut, and he was to negotiate a new deal. Sephiroth assured him the alliance was unlikely to make any reckless moves. She told him not to worry and to simply enjoy the trip. And so, his diplomatic mission had begun. The journey through the wilderness was long and arduous. They traveled for days, making their way slowly toward the Trade Federation. For Sadie, it was the first time she had traveled so far. She found the journey fun, despite having to take the long land route. She wondered if the demon army had ever made a deal with humans. Understanding the difficulty, Ike explained that was precisely why he brought her. She was to be a living testament that humans and demons could coexist. Their peaceful conversation was suddenly interrupted by the sounds of violence. A horde of savage bandits charged, roaring for blood and death. The carriage guards drew their swords, determined to protect their young lady. But they were hopelessly outnumbered, the bandits swarming their position. The bandits cut them down mercilessly, their blades stained with blood. One by one, the brave guards fell to the overwhelming onslaught. The hulking bandit leader laughed, enjoying the brutal slaughter. His eyes glinted with greed as he turned toward the carriage. Only 2 guards remained, a final, desperate line of defense. He cut them both down in a single, brutal motion, shouting. Stepping over their bodies, he dismissed them as pathetic weaklings. He reached for the carriage door, eager to claim his prize. But what he found inside was not what he had expected. A beautiful young noblewoman sat inside, remarkably calm and composed. He was surprised to find such a cute young lady waiting for him. His leering was cut short as a stone struck him hard. The sharp impact knocked him back from the carriage door. The young woman was startled, wondering what had just happened. She looked out the open door, her eyes wide with surprise. A young man stood there, announcing he had come to rescue her. Her face flushed as the stranger asked if she was all right. The bandits, enraged by the interruption, ordered their men to kill him. But the young man remained completely unfazed by their threats. He simply told the charging bandits that they were being too noisy. With a quiet request to shut up, he unleashed a torrent of magic. The bandits were caught in a vortex of wind, crying out in shock. They were tossed about like dolls, completely helpless against his power. The surviving guards could only watch as the bandits were neutralized. One of the guards stammered in disbelief, finding it all impossible. The entire bandit horde was defeated with seemingly effortless ease. Ike then knelt beside a wounded guard, telling him not to move. His hand began to glow with the soft light of healing magic. The guard watched in amazement as his wounds began to close. The guard thanked him profusely, but Ike advised him to see a doctor. The captain formally thanked the young man for saving all their lives. When asked how they could repay him, Ike simply told him not to worry. The chaos of the ambush finally settled into a quiet aftermath. He turned to the noblewoman, apologizing for his late arrival. She smiled, introducing herself and saying it was nice to meet him. She then revealed her identity as the daughter of Zenobia's alliance leader. Soon after, they arrived in the grand city of Zenobia. They were granted an audience with a woman who sat behind a desk. She introduced herself as Eltoria Octave, leader of the Trade Federation. Thinking it too dangerous, Ike introduced himself with the alias Reich. Eltoria asked if he would mind talking while she continued her work. Julia apologized to Ike, explaining that her mother was a busy woman. She explained that her mother wished to give him an official reward. Eltoria Octave was the head of the Zenobia Council. Ike noted she had earned her post through sheer skill and persistence. He knew saving her daughter gave him leverage, but he felt uneasy. In the opulent halls of Zenobia, Eltoria Octave asks what Ike is thinking. From her desk, she tells him his thoughts are written all over his face. She leans forward, her eyes sharp, warning him to be careful about that. Such transparency, she explains, will only work against him in negotiations. Ike realizes that securing this deal is going to be incredibly difficult. Eltoria then asks her daughter, Julia, to please wait outside the room. Julia looks slightly confused but remains silent, awaiting her mother's command. She obediently agrees to her mother's request as she turns to leave. Ike watches as the door closes, leaving him and Sadie alone with Eltoria. He waits for the formidable leader to make her next move. Eltoria states that time is short, so they should get down to business. She then asks a shocking question. What does the demon army want from her? Ike is completely stunned, stammering as he asks how she could possibly know. Eltoria's gaze is unwavering, her secret knowledge now laid bare. She reminds him again to watch his expression, just as she had warned. Still flustered, Ike asks why she concluded he belonged to the demon army. With a confident smile, Eltoria simply says that her intuition told her so. She remarks on how very unusual it is to find a human among demons. Ike sweats nervously, his greatest secret now a topic of open discussion. Eltoria stands, ready to move the conversation forward to the real business. Ike regains his composure and states his army wants a trade deal with Zenobia. Eltoria listens intently, her expression unreadable as she considers the proposal. She repeats the shocking idea, a trade deal with an army of demons. She challenges him, asking if demons don't just want to kill all humanity. She muses that relying on such a friend would be far too dangerous. Ike remains silent for a moment, weighing her very valid point. He tells her that while that was true before, things are different now. He declares with firm conviction that the reason he is fighting is to create a future where humans and demons can finally coexist. Altoria's expression shifts slightly, intrigued by his impossibly noble goal. Sadie whispers the words to herself, pondering such a revolutionary idea. Altoria acknowledges the current demon lord's reputation is different from the past. Still, she argues that demons are demons, and their minds could change any time. She asks him where his proof is, knowing there is nothing like that. Ike's face falls. He knows he cannot provide any tangible evidence for his claims. He is forced to admit that he doesn't have any proof to offer her. Altoria's gaze is cold, her point now proven in her mind. She concludes that if he has no proof, there is nothing left to discuss. She asks if he has anything else he would like to add to the conversation. Ike's eyes narrow with determination. He has one last card left to play. He states that he heard the Federation is currently troubled by pirates. He then makes a bold proclamation. He will exterminate those pirates for her. Altoria turns away from him, her back to him as she considers the offer. She lets out a soft chuckle, amused by the idea of demons fighting pirates. She agrees that in that case, she will consider his proposal. However, she states that there are conditions he must meet first. The second condition, she reveals, is that he will have to marry Julia. Both Ike and Sadie are shocked, with Ike asking what she could possibly mean. Sadie's eyes are wide with disbelief at the sudden marriage proposal. Ike protests that he's still a part of the Demon Lord's army. Altoria explains she is not just Julia's mother, but the Federation's leader. She sees him as smart and sincere, a future executive in the demon army. Ike is taken aback by her cold and very strategic political calculation. He asks if this is also a product of her powerful intuition. Altoria calmly confirms that, of course, it is indeed her intuition. She adds with finality that her intuition has never been wrong before. Julia, listening from the hallway, blushes deeply at the implications. Their tense negotiation is suddenly interrupted by a guard running towards them. The guard bursts into the room, calling out for Altoria-sama in a panic. He brings dire news, announcing the arrival of the Redbeard pirates. A pirate ship unloads its savage crew, who are now invading the city. The pirate captain orders his men to collect provisions and take the women. His bloodthirsty crew roars in agreement, wanting to kill everything else. The city guards are overwhelmed, calling for backup amidst the horrible slaughter. A city commander watches in grim silence as the attack unfolds. A massive magical explosion rocks the port, destroying a nearby building. The guards are caught in the blast, crying out in pain and terror. The commander is stunned by the sheer destructive power of the pirates. A pirate mage states calmly that he did warn them what would happen. He declares it can't be helped if they won't listen to his warnings. The pirate captain, Karasa, orders his mage to crush them all. From her window, Altoria sees the explosions rocking her defenseless city. She tells Ike that it seems they're almost out of time. She presses him again for his answer to her surprising proposal. An overhead shot shows the port district engulfed in smoke and fire. Ike and Sadie run through the ruined streets as debris falls around them. They stop in their tracks, taking in the scene of destruction before them. Ike looks at the pillaged marketplace and wonders if they are too late. He asks a wounded guard if he is okay. The man thanks him for his concern. He watches as the exhausted guard collapses onto the cobblestone street. Ike uses his magic to gently lift a heavy wooden beam off the man. He asks the guard to explain what happened here in the marketplace. The guard reveals the pirates were after goods on a specific ship. Ike asks how many pirates there were. The guard says one ship full. Ike notes that is a surprisingly small amount, but the guard is wary. The guard warns him that he should not underestimate their forces. He describes the pirates as elusive, raiding at the most unexpected times. He laments that they could fight back if only they knew their location. Sadie listens to the grim report with a deeply worried expression. Julia's voice calls out to Ike, using his alias, Reich-sama. She stands before them, looking determined amidst the city's chaos. She asks if she can talk with him for a second in private. They find a quiet space away from the main street to speak. In a wrecked storeroom, Ike asks her what she wanted to talk about. Julia confesses that she overheard his conversation with her mother. She admits that she is very happy about the arrangement. She looks at him and declares that it was love at first sight. With a deep blush, she begs him to please become her husband. Ike is flabbergasted, shouting that they only met a half day ago. Misunderstanding his shock, Julia begins to cry, thinking he is not pleased. A flustered young woman peeks from a doorway, apologizing for the interruption. Her eyes are wide with shock, leaving her utterly speechless. Inside, Ike is amazed that the noble woman, Julia, is already proposing marriage. The peeking maid's eyes widen further in disbelief at what she has just overheard. Ike, looking at the crying Julia, feels a strange, unfamiliar emotion stirring within him. Suddenly, a pirate grabs the maid, Sadie, from behind, his hand silencing her scream. She struggles against his grip, her cries of terror muffled by his rough hand. The pirate holds his captive tight, turning to face the sound of the commotion. Hearing a clatter, Ike's expression shifts from confusion to alarm. He turns his head, questioning the sudden and violent noise from behind him. A polite voice is heard, asking to be excused for just a moment. Ike leans over a balcony railing, trying to see what is happening below. He looks out over the bustling, chaotic streets of the port city. His face is grim and silent as he takes in the unfolding disaster. The grand port city of Zenobia is shown, nestled between the sea and mountains. A lone pirate ship sails away from the port, out into the open water. Below deck, a motley crew of pirates stares forward with greedy, leering eyes. Sadie lies unconscious on the floor as they comment on her beauty. Her kidnapper warns his crewmates to leave her alone, claiming her for himself. He declares that the girl is a special present for their captain. Another pirate angrily shouts at him, demanding he get out of the way. The kidnapper smirks, sure that this prize will satisfy their captain, Karasa. He laughs, dreaming that this capture will earn him the rank of vice captain. The pirate pauses, hearing a noise, and scratches his neck in confusion. He turns in shock to see Sadie has awakened and is making a run for it. He curses as the terrified girl flees deeper into the ship's hold. Sadie runs, desperately shouting for her master, Ike, to come find her. The ship's interior rattles as she continues to scream Ike's name in desperation. She throws open a heavy wooden door, hoping to find a path to freedom. Her eyes widen in absolute shock at the sight that greets her. She finds herself standing alone on the main deck, trapped and exposed. Her eyes fill with dawning horror as she realizes there is no escape. She looks out at the endless, empty ocean, her last hope fading away. A voice behind her notes that while he was aiming for Julia, she's a fine prize. The pirate captain, Karasa, stands with his crew, remarking that she's not bad. He faces Sadie, revealing that he was actually in need of maid. Sadie stares back, silent and terrified, as the fearsome captain assesses her. The scene shifts back to the elegant rooftops of the city of Zenobia. A view shows the grand stone buildings connected by a high walkway. A wounded guard blames his carelessness for allowing the young girl to be kidnapped. An attendant confirms that it was most likely the work of the pirates. The Federation leader, Altoria, notes how difficult it will be to find them now. Ike's voice cuts through the despair, declaring with certainty that he can find them. He steps forward, asking Altoria to let him handle the search and rescue. His expression is one of cold, unyielding determination. Altoria studies him, her own expression calculating as she weighs his words. She agrees to his request, lending him the ship known as the Scrap Prophet. Ike stands alone at the prow as the ship cuts swiftly through the waves. A memory surfaces of him, finding the name 13 to be strange. He recalls her explanation that all slaves are identified only by their number. She had then revealed that her mother had secretly given her the name Sadie. Ike remembers telling her that he liked her true name. Back in the present, He makes a solemn vow to rescue Suddy. On the pirate ship, a voice tells Suddy that her new outfit suits her. She stands in a fetishistic maid's costume, told it fits her captor's tastes. She wonders why any maid would be forced to wear such a degrading outfit. Karasa sneers that a maid's job is to do anything to please her master. He tells her that from now on, she must simply obey his every command. Suddy stares back, a bead of sweat on her cheek, her mind racing. A quick transitional panel shows the fine details of her hair. Her mind flashes back to Ike telling her to become his maid. He had only asked her to do simple work like cleaning and cooking. Her eyes widen as she remembers the other half of their agreement. Ike had promised that in exchange for her service, he would protect her. He had asked her what she thought of his proposal. She had thought at the time that they were very good conditions. In the present, her eyes now burn with a newfound determination. Karasa, sipping wine, says that he wants her to work as his maid. He offers her a glass and asks if she would like to do some cooking. Suddy forces a nervous smile, a desperate plan beginning to form. The pirate captain looks at her with a bored, unimpressed expression. He concedes that letting her cook for him might not be so bad. The rhythmic sound of chopping echoes from the ship's galley. Suddy is shown working diligently at a large kitchen table. Her expression is focused and grim as she prepares her dangerous meal. She glances over at the two brutish pirates guarding the galley door. The guards stand with their arms crossed, looking bored and completely unaware. Suddy turns to them and politely asks where she can find the alcohol. She claims she needs it to make the food especially delicious. One of the guards places a large wooden cask on the table for her. Suddy holds a bowl over a sizzling pan, preparing to create a distraction. The hot oil in the pan sizzles and pops, ready for her plan. She appends the entire cask, pouring a stream of alcohol into the hot oil. A massive grease fire explodes from the pan, engulfing the galley in flames. A guard screams in panic as the fire begins to spread uncontrollably. Another pirate yells for someone to go and get some water immediately. They curse in frustration, realizing they can't extinguish the raging inferno. The intense heat and smoke of the fire fill the small galley. The raging fire is reflected in the glass of a fallen lantern. The pirates struggle with buckets, remarking on how dangerous the situation is. One pirate complains about her using something volatile like alcohol in her cooking. He turns, questioning where the girl has disappeared to amidst the chaos. Suddy, having slipped away, runs through the ship's dark cargo hold. She hides behind a large crate, listening to the commotion from the kitchen. Two pirates walk past, dismissing the noise as a simple fight over food. Suddy peeks over the crate, her expression worried as she listens to them. She narrows her eyes, knowing she is still trapped and in grave danger. She looks around the dark, lantern-lit hold for a better hiding spot. A memory echoes of a guard saying the pirates are elusive and unpredictable. The guard's voice laments that they could win if they knew the pirates' location. A pair of wide, frightened eyes stares out from the darkness. The pirate captain, Karasa, admires a frilly uniform as a subordinate calls his name. The subordinate bursts in, shouting that something horrible has happened. Karasa's single eye narrows as he listens to the panicked report. A massive explosion rips through the ship, which is now on fire. On deck, the pirate crew scrambles in chaos, shouting to extinguish the flames. Below deck, the sounds of the fire and panic echo through the hold. Suddy peeks out nervously from inside a large wooden barrel. Her eyes are wide with fear as she listens to the commotion above. Two pirates enter the hold, ordering their men to find the girl. They curse that she is not here, calling her a bitch. The pirates vow to make her suffer once she is found. Suddy risks another quick peek, hoping they will leave. She is discovered. Two pirates stare right at her hiding spot. They laugh, asking if she is surprised that they found her. One pirate boasts that his nose can always find a woman's scent. With a loud crash, they smash her barrel to pieces. Suddy screams for them to stop as the wood shatters around her. Now on the floor, a pirate with a knife tells her to stay still. A sudden blur of motion slashes across the pirate's face. He clutches his bleeding cheek as Suddy scrambles away in the chaos. She runs, sobbing that Ike-sama will definitely come to save her. As she flees, a swirling magical energy appears behind her. A glowing magic circle locks around her ankle, stopping her in her tracks. She cries out as she is thrown off balance and falls hard. A heavy boot steps onto the deck beside her collapsed form. She looks up to see Karasa and his men have cornered her. Karasa tells her not to worry, as he has no plans to kill her. Suddy's eyes fill with tears as he says a bad maid must be punished. A hulking pirate says she will only lose one leg for her trouble. Suddy squeezes her eyes shut and lets out a final, terrified scream. In a flash of steel, the hulking axeman is struck down. His eyes widen in utter shock as his life ends. He lets out a final death cry as his head is severed. Karasa can only watch in stunned silence. A mysterious hooded figure has suddenly appeared behind him. The figure walks calmly through the ranks of the stunned pirates. Ike, his face hidden, wonders what the hell is happening here. He walks past the pirate captain without a single glance. Karasa's eye narrows, watching the silent intruder pass by. Ike kneels beside Suddy, stating he has a promise to protect her. He repeats his vow to keep the young girl safe from harm. He continues, his voice low, saying that is the reason why. He will not let these pirates get away with what they've done. A flashback shows a crewman on Ike's ship spotting smoke on the water. The ship's captain wonders why there is smoke in the middle of the sea. Without a word, Ike leaps from the deck of the ship. The captain turns, utterly confused by his passenger's sudden action. He looks down, asking where Ike-sama has gone. Back on the pirate ship, the crew reacts in shock to the intruder. Ike lands in a whirlwind of dark, destructive energy. His Ouroboros staff glows with power as he prepares to fight. He unleashes a blast of magic that sends the pirates reeling. The remaining pirates curse him as they charge forward to attack. Their blades clang uselessly against his powerful magical barrier. He moves through the panicked crowd with impossible speed. A blur of dark magic cuts through the charging pirates. A wide view shows the men being thrown about by his immense power. Ike's expression is cold and utterly focused on the battle. He unleashes another wave of force, scattering the last of the men. The very sea rises up, great waves crashing over the ship. He watches calmly as the pirates are swept into the churning water. Ike stands alone on the deck, master of the chaotic scene. He stands triumphant, his powerful staff resting on the deck. Suddy peeks out from the hold, asking if he has finished them. He asks if Suddy is okay. She quickly says she is fine. He presses, asking if she is hurt, but she insists she is not. He then asks if she is able to walk properly. He seems momentarily flustered, unsure of what else to say. Suddy thanks him deeply for saving someone as insignificant as her. Ike asks if it isn't only natural for him to have done so. He reveals that he could sense her unwavering belief that he would come. Suddy explains that because she's a slave, after all, it wouldn't be strange if she were abandoned at some point. Ike looks at her and declares firmly that she is his maid. He asks rhetorically, a master would never abandon his maid, would he? He adds that he could see her thoughts from his own ship. He saw her mind as he stood with his crew. He could feel her thoughts, her powerful belief in him. Suddy blushes, stunned and moved by his incredible words. A new voice remarks that Ike is clearly not a simple magician. Suddy calls out to Ike in alarm as a new threat appears. A massive explosion rips through the deck of the ship. Karasa emerges from the wreckage, his face a mask of fury. He praises Ike for being able to find his hidden ship, but he declares that the girl is his property now. He roars that every nuisance shall perish as Ike grabs Suddy. Ike leaps away with Suddy as a magical blast tears through the hold. Suddy screams as splinters of wood fly past them. Ike's expression is grim and focused as he protects her. He meets the pirate's powerful blast with his own magic. The wall beside him cracks under the immense magical pressure. He lands safely, shielding Suddy from the explosion with his cloak. Karasa taunts him, asking where he can possibly run on a ship. He screams for them to give up and die in the wreckage. Ike and Suddy share a brief, determined glance. A massive explosion of Ike's power erupts from the ship's center. The entire vessel begins to crumble and fall apart. Karasa is trapped as the sea pours into his ruined ship. He can only watch in stunned silence as his world is destroyed. From the ruins of a pier, the pirate captain Karasa watches in horror. Ike, floating in a sphere of water, promises he will not be let go. Ike declares Karasa's career as a pirate is now officially over. He unleashes Aqua Tempest, a massive explosion of water that obliterates the ship. On the docks of Zenobia, the crew of another ship watches the massive waterspout. They stare in disbelief, realizing the pirate ship has completely vanished. The lead crewman is stunned into silence, a bead of sweat on his brow. A heavy thud suddenly sounds on the deck behind the startled crew. The defeated pirate captain, Karasa, lies unconscious at their feet. Ike, with Suddy at his side, calmly tells the crew it is time to return. Ike's face is calm and determined, while Suddy looks on in worried awe. In the churning sea, a surviving pirate confirms the job is finally done. The scene shifts to the grand city of Zenobia. Eltoria is surprised that Ike was able to capture the captain alive. She is impressed by his skill and success against the pirates. She finds it funny that a member of the demon army dislikes unnecessary killing. True to her word, Eltoria agrees to conclude their commerce treaty. She insists, however, that their new agreement must be kept confidential. Nothing good would come from the Alliance of Kings learning of their deal. Ike gratefully accepts the terms, glad to have secured the secret trade. Eltoria prepares to discuss the finer details of their new treaty. The world is plunged into chaos, starting in the war-torn city of Alesta. Demon soldiers are trapped within the city's ruined courtyard. A goblin clutches his head in despair, his comrades wounded around him. The ground is littered with the bodies of fallen demon soldiers. A large orc stands grimly, multiple arrows protruding from his back. Sapphiro learns they have only 3 days of rations left at best. She realizes the city was deliberately left empty. It was a trap. The humans' plan, she concludes, is to simply starve them out. Sapphiro decides they will launch a final, desperate attack on their besiegers. Her subordinate worries about Sapphiro's wounded body, asking if they should wait. Steeling herself, the subordinate knows they can only do what is possible now. Sapphiro states that it makes no difference if they die fighting or starving. In a surreal vision, the demon lord Darrow-Kuten warns Ike that Sapphiro is in danger. Ike, caught off guard, wonders why his general would be in trouble. The vision focuses on Darrow-Kuten's piercing, cat-like eyes. She explains that an all-out attack by the Alliance of Kings has begun. Ranks of heavily armored human knights are shown marching to war. Ike listens with grim focus as the dire news is delivered. Darrow-Kuten reveals the demon army is fighting back on all fronts. She specifies that in Alesta, Sapphiro was captured due to a trap. The humans had lured the demon army into the city to besiege them. Ike immediately asks about the number of enemy soldiers involved. Darrow-Kuten confirms a force of 5,000 has Sapphiro trapped in Alesta. Ike understands this means it has become a hopeless battle of attrition. There is no time left. The demon lord warns him grimly. She has arranged for his brigade to move, ordering him to save Sapphiro himself. Announcing she is busy, Darrow-Kuten begins to take her leave from the vision. Her form dissolves into embers as Ike calls out her title in surprise. A strange, multifaceted orb drops to the floor in her place. Ike stares at the mysterious object the demon lord left behind. The vision fades, leaving Ike standing alone in the grand hall. He turns to see Eltoria, the leader of Zenobia, watching him. Eltoria's expression is serious and unreadable as she gazes at him. Ike mutters to himself that the engagement party will have to be postponed. A title page shows a wounded Sapphiro at the center of the conflict. The scene shifts to the familiar rooftops of Ike's home base, Ivalize. An establishing shot shows the interior of his lavishly decorated study. A flash of light signals Ike's sudden magical arrival in the room. His feet land firmly on the polished wooden floor of his study. Suddy is shocked by the teleportation as Ike removes his formal attire. She asks where they are, wondering if he has already forgotten their location. She exclaims they were in Zenobia. He explains it was travel magic. He notes the magic allows him to return to places he has visited before. Suddy asks if this means he can now return to Zenobia whenever he wishes. Ike looks out the window, sensing that something is terribly wrong. He sees that his own city, Ivalize, is in a state of ruin. He wonders aloud if the Alliance attacked Ivalize as well. Jiren's voice calls out, addressing him by his old title, Vice Commander. Jiren bursts in, confirming what the young girl had told Ike. He shouts that an all-out attack has begun across the entire region. When Ike asks if they were attacked, Jiren hesitates to explain. He says that, unbelievably, a young girl appeared and saved them all. A flashback shows Darokuten single-handedly facing down the human army. Ike's skeletal face is grim as he processes this new information. He recalls the Demon Lord's final, urgent command to save Sapphiro. He tells a surprised Jiren they are heading to Alesta immediately. Ike asks for a quick report on how many soldiers they have available. The camera pans across the rooftops of the damaged city. Jiren reports that after the last battle, they have about 500 fighting men. Ike knows they must leave a garrison, reducing their numbers even further. Walking through the city, he asks Jiren for the enemy's numbers. Jiren confirms with dread that the enemy force besieging Alesta is 5,000. He despairs, asking if they even have a chance of winning against such odds. Ike states grimly that they have no choice, they just have to do it. He explains they must arrive before Sapphiro's main force is completely depleted. He resolves to formulate their strategy while they are on the move. As the small brigade assembles, Jiren nervously gets Ike's attention. A human citizen from the town steps forward to speak. He asks if it would be all right for the townspeople to come with them. Ike is silent, taken aback by the completely unexpected offer of help. Another citizen shouts that they heard Ike was in trouble and want to assist. Jiren angrily tells the damn humans to stop being impudent while they're busy. The citizen explains that in this endless war, they must protect their own lives. He formally asks Ike to please take them along on a mission. Jiren questions their judgment, reminding them that they are the Demon Lord's army. A citizen explains that the previous human lord had exhausted them with high taxes. But since Ike began to govern, the city has become more prosperous than ever. During the recent attacks, Ike's demon forces have been kind enough to protect them. The lead citizen declares that without Ike, they would have starved or become bandits. The human leader begs Ike for a chance to repay his kindness. Jiren protests, fearing the loss of demonic dignity by accepting human help. Lilies interrupts him with a sharp slap to the back of his head. She scolds Jiren for his insolence and insults his appearance. Turning to Ike, Lilies blushes and pledges her unwavering loyalty to him. The human leader formally requests permission for his people to join the war. Suddenly, the dwarf king Gunther appears, flanked by his formidable warriors. Ike dismisses their involvement, but Gunther reminds him of their sacred promise. He asks who would protect the dwarves' future if Ike were to die. Ike is visibly moved by his words, murmuring Gunther's name in respect. He gratefully accepts their aid, declaring they must hurry to save their general. Their journey takes them through a range of dark and foreboding mountains. An overhead view shows the strange, multiracial army marching toward Alesta. An orc commander worries that, even with allies, their numbers are still insufficient. A monstrous demon knows they must devise a battle plan before they arrive. During breaks, Ike teaches the human volunteers how to use the matchlock rifles. While on the move, he continues to develop new and powerful weapons. He works alongside Gunther, combining his knowledge with dwarven craftsmanship. Ike's greatest fear is that Sapphiro won't survive until his army arrives. A single drop of rain falls on a leaf, signaling a coming storm. The sky opens up, and a heavy downpour begins over the dark forest. At Alesta, the human army stands ready for battle, rain lashing their armor. The massive force prepares to assault the city walls under the stormy sky. An armored boot takes a determined step forward in the muddy battlefield. Their leader is introduced, Captain Rudel of the Red Dragon Knights Order. Rudel calmly gives the order to begin, and his men roar to attack. A massive catapult creaks under the strain as it prepares to fire. The siege engine unleashes its stone projectile, sending it hurtling towards the city. The mighty fortress of Alesta stands tall, about to face the onslaught. The projectile smashes into the wall in a cataclysmic, deafening explosion. Hulking demon defenders are thrown through the air by the concussive blast. Another explosion rips through the demon ranks, shattering their defensive line. From siege towers, the human army gives the command to fire their ballistae. A massive bolt impales a demon soldier, its force devastating. The demon defenders are cut down by a relentless hail of projectiles. A giant orc watches as human soldiers flood through a new breach. The remaining demons brace themselves for the charge of armored human knights. With a unified cry, the human knights charge into the city. The battle devolves into a chaotic and brutal melee within the walls. An orc punches straight through a knight's chest plate in a spray of blood. The demons fight with savage fury, ripping through the human soldiers. An orc roars, its face splattered with blood, fighting to the last. Sapphiro stands alone, watching the overwhelming tide of enemies advance. She grips her staff, her body bruised and her clothes torn from battle. She unleashes a powerful blast of magic, a blur of dark energy. The magical force rips through the human knights, sending them flying. For a moment, she stands victorious, surrounded by the bodies of her foes. But more knights close in, their swords raised, as she glares back wearily. A knight's blade finds its mark, striking her with a powerful blow. The impact sends her staggering back, a cry of pain escaping her lips. Her eyes narrow with defiance, refusing to accept her imminent defeat. She spins in a whirlwind of motion, cutting down the knights around her. She is a solitary storm of destruction against an endless sea of enemies. A knight shouts at her not to get cocky as they press their advantage. Sapphiro snarls, unable to believe she could be beaten by them. Suddenly, an arrow streaks through the rain, striking her in the shoulder. Her eyes widen in pure shock as the arrow pierces her flesh. On a nearby rooftop, a human archer lowers his bow, his task complete. Sapphiro collapses to the ground, a pool of blood spreading in the mud. She lies helpless on the ground, surrounded by two armored human knights. Her vision blurs as she looks up, her strength finally abandoning her. The knights raise their swords, preparing to execute the fallen demon general. Her eyes begin to close as she resigns herself to her fate. The scene fades to Ike, his skeletal face grim under his hood. A close-up shows his human eyes, filled with deep worry and concern. He rides on, leading his strange, multiracial army through the relentless rain. He looks up at the sky as the sound of flapping wings echoes. He wonders if the strange feeling he has is a premonition about Sapphiro. Back in Alesta, the knights stand over the fallen General Sapphiro. They close in a circle of steel to deliver the final, killing blow. With a final, whispered curse, Sapphiro loses consciousness. She is utterly defeated, surrounded and helpless in the heart of the battle. The relentless rain continues to fall on the war-torn city of Alesta. The sky is a gray blur, signaling the passage of time. The storm of battle has ended, leaving only a quiet dread. The clouds begin to part, revealing the aftermath of the brutal siege. Victorious human soldiers march their demon captives through the ruined streets. The ground is littered with the bloodied corpses of the fallen demon defenders. The human soldiers mercilessly execute the wounded, their screams echoing. two soldiers casually discuss looting the bodies for valuable teeth and hearts. The dead are gathered and unceremoniously burned in massive pyres. A voice from off-panel laughs with sadistic glee, wishing death upon them. Inside a stone dungeon, two human guards stand watch over their prize. They are guarding the captured General Sapphiro, who is chained to a chair. Captain Rudel confirms with his subordinate that their captive is still alive. He decides she might be useful, though he would prefer to kill her. Rudel orders his subordinate to guard her while he reports to his superiors. The balding guard is left alone, a lecherous look in his eyes. He turns his gaze upon the wounded and helpless Sapphiro. He notes that, physically, she appears no different from a human woman. He wonders aloud, with a vile smirk, what a demon might taste like. Lilies appears behind him, whispering that she probably tastes like poison. The guard's face contorts in absolute shock and terror at her appearance. Lily's hand shoots out, grabbing his jaw and silencing his scream. She holds him fast, her expression cold and merciless as he struggles. The life drains from his eyes as she applies crushing pressure. His eyes roll back in his head, his face a mask of death. His lifeless body slumps to the dungeon floor with a heavy thud. Lilies stands over the corpse, her attention now on her captive general. She tells the battered Sapphiro that she has made her wait long enough. A human soldier stands guard within the besieged city of Alesta. The stone towers of the fortress stand ruined against a cloudy sky. From a safe distance, a human commander observes a magical explosion. The soldier inside the city looks on, questioning the strange lights. Suddenly, Ike and his forces unleash a powerful, dark magic attack. A close-up on Ike's skeletal face reveals the enemy attack has begun. A nearby building is completely obliterated in a violent explosion. A human soldier screams a warning that the enemy is attacking. Knights are ordered to rush and protect the city's gates and walls. Another deafening explosion rocks the fortress from a distance. Inside, the human commander Captain Rudel asks for the enemy's size. His subordinate scoffs, estimating only 500, an easy victory. Rudel sternly warns him not to underestimate their demonic foes. As an explosion shatters a window, he vows to fight with full strength. He resolutely orders all available men to be gathered for battle. The sounds of explosions continue to echo throughout the fortress. A commander questions the sounds, wondering what is happening. A soldier runs towards him, screaming that they are under attack. A horned demon urges her comrades to hurry towards the gate. The commander grimly decides he must execute the demon prisoners. He is shocked as the captive orcs begin to growl menacingly. Elsewhere, Lilies and her companions hear the sounds of fighting. She looks on with an annoyed expression, unimpressed by the commotion. She urges them to escape before the berserker orcs are unleashed. Outside, massive stones are launched from human catapults. The projectiles crash down, crushing the demon rearguard. Orc soldiers are pulverized by the relentless heavy bombardment. More warriors are obliterated by the devastating siege weapons. The rearguard watches as their comrades are torn apart. The orcs stand firm, their expressions a mask of grim defiance. The battlefield is ripped apart by the force of the impacts. An orc glares defiantly through the dust and debris. The orc commander shouts in surprise at an unseen event. Alone, cloaked figure stands amidst the rubble before the city. The commander rallies his troops, reminding them of their mission. He vows they will hold out until General Sapphiro has escaped. Inside Alesta, human soldiers stand guard in the ruined streets. A soldier feels a strange sensation as orbs of light appear. He feels his strength suddenly draining away from his body. A demon's foot steps lightly amidst the glowing, sleeping magic. Lilies leads her group through a courtyard of slumbering soldiers. She chuckles to herself, finding their escape far too easy. She praises Ikesama, as everything is going exactly as planned. Her companion urges her to hurry, as they have no time. Smiling, Lilies leads the way through the carnage and chaos. She is suddenly startled, questioning what is happening. She spots a figure on a wall, sensing an unexpected attack. The alchemist Fiorentina is blasted through the chest by dark magic. She lets out a soft gasp of shock as the attack hits her. Sapphiro watches in horror as her subordinate is struck down. She whispers Fiorentina's name in utter disbelief and sorrow. A boot steps onto the rubble as a new enemy approaches. A human mage sneers, asking if they thought they could run away. He orders his knights to kill every last one of the demons. Lilies grits her teeth in frustration, hopelessly outmatched. The human knights clash with the remaining demon soldiers. A knight is brutally cut down in the chaotic melee. A human knight in full plate armor stands ready for battle. An orc is riddled with arrows, falling in the brutal fight. Lilies finds herself cornered by a heavily armored knight. She smiles wickedly, a splash of blood on her face. The battle is a brutal, chaotic slaughter in the city streets. The wounded Sapphiro slumps to the ground, utterly exhausted. Her face is smudged with dirt, her eyes heavy with fatigue. The fallen Fiorentina curses their seemingly hopeless situation. The mage mocks Sapphiro's camaraderie with her demon comrades. He grins sadistically, vowing to kill her immediately. Lilies is surrounded and overwhelmed by the human knights. Sapphiro looks up, her expression a mask of grim determination. A loud bang rings out as the mage's head explodes. His body collapses as Sapphiro watches the impossible shot. She looks up, her eyes wide with surprise and confusion. Her gaze travels across the ruined cityscape. She stares far into the distance, searching for the source. She sees a single, faint point of light on the horizon. The single light resolves into three distinct, glowing orbs. On a distant hill, human volunteers take aim with their rifles. Their leader screams the thunderous command to fire. The human knights are torn apart by the devastating volley. A soldier is struck in the face by a powerful bullet. Another knight is killed instantly by the unexpected gunfire. The human volunteers let out a battle cry and charge forward. Sapphiro watches as her unlikely rescuers join the battle. She looks on, her face smudged but her expression calm. Jiren arrives on horseback, addressing her as Sapphiro Sama. He apologizes for taking so long to reach her. Sapphiro remains silent, taking in the turn of events. On a ridge, two cloaked figures hear the distant shots. Ike, in his skeletal guise, listens impassively to the battle. He turns to his companion, asking if it is now time. The dwarf king, Gunther, confirms they are ready on his order. Ike gives a simple affirmation, his final plan in motion. The human general watches the rearguard action from afar. He laughs, mocking their futile attempt to break his siege. A knight beside him lifts his visor, looking up at the sky. He spots a swarm of dark specks approaching in the distance. A squadron of grotesque, winged demons soars over the city. Each creature clutches a large, sealed barrel in its talons. The demonic bombers fly over the unsuspecting human encampment. They release their cargo, and the firebombs plummet towards the earth. A demonic hand releases its cargo, a cloth-covered barrel. A lone demon rider drops the firebomb from high above. The human general watches the approaching threat with a calm expression. From his skeletal mask, Ike observes the unfolding destruction. The lit fuse on the barrel signals that this is the end. A massive explosion erupts over the human encampment with a deafening roar. The blast rips through the city's outer walls, sending stone flying. Human soldiers are silhouetted against the inferno as they are thrown back. The shockwave tears through the armored ranks of the human army. A spray of dark blood marks the brutal end for many soldiers. The general's forces are protected by a glowing magical barrier. A panicked soldier warns his general that it is too dangerous here. He desperately urges the general to get out of there quickly. The general stands firm on the battlements, watching the city burn. The battlefield has become a sea of fire under a dark sky. Ike, a horned skull wreathed in shadows, looks on. The human general admits with resignation that they have been beaten. He gives the final command for the entire army to retreat. The city's towers are left shattered against the sky. The smoldering ruins are a testament to the battle's ferocity. Alesta is now a broken city under a hazy, ash-filled sky. The courtyard is now filled with the tents of a refugee camp. Humans and orcs now mingle freely, working together in the aftermath. A young human boy speaks with a hulking orc soldier. This unprecedented cooperation marks a new era for the city. The werewolf commander, Bade, is bewildered by the strange situation. Inside a command tent, the demon leaders regroup. Gantos laments that such a disaster happened while they were away. Sapphiro admits she was wrong to have underestimated the human's trap. Gantos points to a stack of barrels, asking what they are. He notes he has never seen such things before. An orc commander identifies the strange barrels as firebombs. Ike explains they are bombs that utilize gunpowder. He asks Sapphiro how she is, and she replies she's much better. She looks at him gratefully, telling him he did well again. Ike quietly accepts her praise, addressing her as Sapphiro-sama. A sudden commotion outside interrupts their conversation. Gantos angrily demands to know the cause of the uproar. Ike senses a powerful presence, an exclamation mark appearing above him. The demon lord Darrokutin descends on a massive black dragon. Sapphiro looks on in shock, murmuring the demon lord's name. The demon lord asks if Sapphiro's wounds have healed. She declares that the 7th Army Corps fought well this time. She praises everyone, from commander to the lowest soldier. Of all units, she singles out the Immortal Brigade as most distinguished. Her gaze falls upon the brigade's commander, Ike. She feels he is no longer fit to remain a simple commander. She promotes Commander Ike to commander of the 8th Army. Ike stands silently, processing the shocking news. He stammers in disbelief, asking for clarification. The demon lord tells Sapphiro not to worry about troop reassignment. Sapphiro then makes a single request of her sovereign. She explains she has taken care of Ike since childhood. She tells the demon lord that Ike is like a little brother to her. She asks that the demon lord back him up in his inexperience. The demon lord listens to her heartfelt plea in silence. She agrees to the request without hesitation. The scene shifts to a deep, ancient forest. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy of the woods. An elegant elven shoe steps onto a sun-dappled forest path. 2 female elves, clad in ornate armor, walk through the trees. The lead elf's expression is sharp and alert. They proceed cautiously down the path into the forest's depths. The ancient trees stand like silent sentinels around them. 2 glowing eyes appear in the dark shadows of the undergrowth. The elf's pointed ear twitches, sensing the unseen presence. Her hand moves towards the bow and quiver on her back. She looks around but sees nothing out of the ordinary. Suddenly, she and her companion are thrown back by an unseen force. A massive, shadowy beast with glowing eyes emerges from the trees. The creature lets out a low, menacing growl. The 2 elves stare, their faces set in grim determination. A distant mountain erupts in a massive explosion. The story returns to the bustling, peaceful city of Ivalize. Inside a grand hall, Jiren celebrates Ike's promotion to general. Ike explains his plan to turn the undead brigade into an army. Jiren notes their numbers are far too small for a full army. Ike reveals the 8th Army will be composed of multiple races. Jiren worries about how the other demon armies will react. Ike states they will simply walk their own path, leaving Jiren speechless. Their conversation is interrupted by a new arrival. The Dwarf King, Gunther, corrects himself, addressing Ike as general. Ike is surprised to see the Dwarf King. Gunther places a sealed, white envelope on the table. Ike asks about the letter, which Gunther says is from a foe. Ike inquires as to who this long-standing foe is. He realizes it must be the Queen of the Elves. A vision of the beautiful elven queen, Fairlet, appears. Gunther explains that the Alliance of Kings is threatening the elves. They have been given an ultimatum: join the Alliance or face war. Ike surmises the humans fear the elves joining the demon army. Gunther confirms this is why the elves are asking for help. He clarifies they are asking the demon army specifically for aid. Ike listens to the complex political situation in silence. Outside, the day is bright and clear under a cloudy sky. Ike's commanders discuss the new development in a courtyard. Ike states they must meet the elves directly to understand. Jiren asks why the letter was sent through their enemy, Gunther. He guesses it's because the two rulers know each other. Lilies points out that elves and dwarves are bitter enemies. Lilies tells Ike to stay out of the discussion, but he concedes she has a valid point. Ike calmly suggests that perhaps the elves have good reason not to trust them. Lily shoots an annoyed look, while the alchemist Fiorentina smirks knowingly behind her. An awkward silence falls, and Ike can only manage a hesitant Jiren voices his suspicion that the elven proposal could be a trap set by the Alliance. Lilies is shocked by the idea, while a sweating Ike admits he thought the same thing. Jiren wonders at their reactions, and Lily sarcastically praises him for finally saying something smart. Ike confirms to Jiren that he, too, had considered the possibility of trap. However, he reasons that using their hated enemy, Gunther, is too convoluted for a simple ambush. Jiren agrees with the logic, but still frets over the dire consequences if it is a trap. The political complexity overwhelms him, and he clutches his head with a frustrated wail. Jiren complains that the entire situation is far too complicated for him to understand. He begs his commander for a simple, clear order. Are they going or not? Ike pauses for a moment, his skeletal face grim as he weighs the risks. He makes his decision, announcing that they will go to the forest of the elves. The scene shifts to a beautiful, intricately designed building nestled deep within a lush forest. Inside, a human general tells the elf queen that his proposal is for her own good. He suggests with a smug smile that they should work together to crush the demon lord's army. As he leaves, he tells Queen Fairlet he will be awaiting her positive reply. An attendant addresses her queen, who remains silent and thoughtful after the general's departure. The grand doors of the elven hall close as the human delegation leaves. An elven warrior standing beside the queen remarks on what an unpleasant human the general was. The warrior asks if the letter was sent to Gunther, and an attendant confirms it is on its way. The attendant then asks her queen why she sent a letter to their sworn enemy, Gunther. Queen Fairlet begins to explain her strategy, mentioning the Demon King's right-hand man. She speaks of Ike, leader of the Undead Brigade, a man who has followed a different path. She has heard that he previously joined forces with both dwarves and humans to fight the Alliance. Therefore, she reasons, Ike is likely with Gunther at this very moment. The attendant wonders if this means the Demon Lord's army will truly save them. The queen admits that she does not know what the demon army will do, but she places her faith in Ike, believing that with him, things could be different. The scene transitions, showing a bright, cloudy sky. Below, a dense, ancient forest spreads out beneath a dark, craggy mountain. An unusual party, mounted and on foot, makes its way through a sun-dappled clearing. Ike, Gunther, and Suddy ride onward, while the succubus Lilies floats above them, bored. Lilies complains to the party, asking why they even bothered to bring the maid along. Ike pragmatically explains that someone must cook, while Lilies huffs that she'd be fine just sucking pollen. Riding with Gunther, Suddy asks with childlike wonder what the elven country is like. Gunther explains it is a nation surrounded by a thick forest, which the elves never leave. Suddy wonders why they don't simply flee to another forest when the humans attack. Gunther reveals their secret. The legendary world tree lies in the heart of their forbidden forest. He confirms it is the very same tree said to have been born with the world itself. Legend claims it is the first thing that ever grew, making it older than even the gods. Suddy is left speechless, in awe of the ancient and sacred lore. Lilies floats down to Ike, telling the maid that she has been making too much noise. Suddenly, a low growl echoes from the deep woods, catching Lilies' attention. Peering into the darkness, she sees two glowing eyes staring back at her. She tilts her head in confusion, wondering what the strange sight could be. A massive explosion of raw energy suddenly erupts from the trees, startling Ike. Lily's is blown out of the sky by the blast, and Ike screams her name in alarm. Ike's single visible eye widens in shock as he processes the sudden, violent attack. A colossal, lion-like beast with massive horns emerges, crackling with raw lightning. The party stares in disbelief, Ike wondering what in the hell this creature is. He notes that he has never seen anything like it before as the beast growls menacingly. The monster lets out a deafening roar and charges directly at them. Ike immediately prepares a counterattack, gathering dark energy around his staff. He unleashes a torrent of shadow magic that envelopes the charging beast. Ike grits his skeletal teeth as his powerful spell makes contact with the creature. The dark magic swirls around the monster, but seems to have little effect. The beast roars in defiance, completely unharmed by the powerful magical assault. Gunther takes matters into his own hands, leaping onto the creature's back with his axe. He lets out a furious battle cry as he prepares to bring his weapon down. With all his might, he swings the heavy axe in a powerful, sweeping arc. Gunther is shocked as his powerful blow fails to even faze the monster. The beast roars and contemptuously swats the dwarf king aside with its massive paw. Ike quickly gathers more dark energy, preparing to launch another spell. Two orbs of pure dark fire materialize in front of his hands. His skeletal face is set in a grim line as he takes aim at the beast. He unleashes a dark fireball, sending the spell streaking towards the monster. The magical projectile explodes directly against the creature's face. Enraged, the beast roars and retaliates with a powerful blast of lightning. Ike is thrown backward by the force of the electrical attack. He lets out a frustrated tisk as the bolts of lightning wash over him. His eyes widen in alarm as he realizes the beast's attention has shifted. The monster ignores the warriors and charges towards the vulnerable Suddy. Ike desperately tries to recover, knowing he cannot intercept the beast in time. Suddy is frozen in terror, calling out her own name in a moment of sheer panic. Suddenly, a figure leaps down from the high branches of the trees above. The beast looks up, roaring as the mysterious figure descends upon it. A powerful female elf brings her longsword down directly on the creature's head. Her face is a mask of cold, grim determination as she delivers the decisive blow. The heavy impact, a solid thunk, echoes through the silent forest. The beast's massive head crashes to the ground, its life extinguished. Its body begins to dissolve, turning into motes of light and dust. A cloaked figure stands over the dissipating remains of the magical creature. All that is left on the forest floor are two small, pulsating stones. Ike looks at the remains and correctly identifies them as magic stones. The elf warrior explains that humans used those stones to summon the beast. Ike addresses the newcomers, recognizing that they must be the elves. The elf warrior looks at him silently, her expression serious and unreadable. She tells him to come with them, for the queen is waiting for their arrival. The scene transitions, showing the dense canopy of the forest against the sky. An overhead view reveals a charming, peaceful elven village nestled among the giant trees. An elven guard welcomes the party to the forest of the elves. Inside a grand, sunlit hall, Queen Fairlet formally introduces herself to the visitors. Suddy is amazed at the queen's youth, but Gunther reveals she is over 300 years old. The queen greets Gunther, remarking that it has been a long time since they last met. Gunther notes that she seems well, despite hearing she was imprisoned for a long time. Queen Fairlight gets straight to business, asking if Ike understands their village's desperate situation. Ike remains silent for a moment, considering her plea for an alliance. Queen Fairlet confirms her plea. They need strength against the United King's alliance. Ike states that for an alliance to succeed, their interests must align. His skeletal face is serious his single visible eye sharp and assessing. Fairlet listens to his condition, her expression calm and thoughtful. She assures him she was not expecting their protection for free. She then offers her own body as payment for their assistance. Ike is utterly stunned, asking her to clarify her shocking proposal. He is completely bewildered, wondering what she could possibly be saying. Lily's erupts in fury, declaring that she is Ike-sama's only toy. An elven attendant quickly intervenes, explaining there is a misunderstanding. She says an undead king like him would have no such feelings. Fairlet's body is valuable because noble elf flesh is a magical ingredient. Her own attendants cry out in shock at their queen's offer. Ike remains silent, his expression unreadable as he processes the information. An elf's blood is an elixir, and their tears become priceless jewels. He considers the immense value of her offer, his eyes narrowing. However, he politely declines, stating he has no interest in alchemy. Fairlet looks puzzled, wondering what he could want instead. Ike makes his demand clear. He wants an elven warrior division. He explains that his only interest is in gaining more fighting strength. Fairlet is silent for a moment, surprised by his request for soldiers. The dwarf king, Gunther, then steps forward to address Fairlet. He notes that despite their differences, both their races love peace. Fairlet's face saddens as he reminds her his own country still fell. A brutal flashback shows dwarves being slaughtered by human soldiers. He tells her he doesn't want the elves to suffer the same fate. The queen listens intently, her profile etched with deep concentration. Gunther admits he trusts neither demon, dwarf, nor human. Fairlet realizes that if this stubborn dwarf trusts Ike, it means something. She turns away from the group, her mind made up. She asks only that Ike protect their forest with all his might. A hint of warmth enters Ike's expression as he accepts her terms. He vows to protect them, as he is also a lover of peace. Miles away, a dark and jagged mountain range stands ominous. The view pans down to the edge of a dense, ancient forest. Deep within the shadows, two glowing eyes suddenly appear. On the ground, two magic stones pulse with latent power. The arrogant human mage holds one, activating a summoning ritual. He looks down at his handiwork with a thoughtful hum. He notes that from here on out, there are no tracks to follow. His subordinate agrees it is difficult to enter without elven guidance. The soldier explains this is the elven forest, the forest of no return. Gnomes disrupt compasses, and sylphs confuse one's sense of direction. This means any human who gets lost inside will never escape. The mage asks if this means they are now trapped here. His subordinate offers a simple, brutal solution: set the forest on fire. The cruel genius of the idea hangs in the air. The mage grins, realizing this will force the elves to come out. Back in the elven village, the new allies hold a war council. They deduce the alliance already knows about their meeting. Ike confirms the summoned beast was the work of court magicians. Gunther realizes this means a large division of knights is approaching. He turns to Ike, asking if he has a countermeasure prepared. A stern-faced elf in armor enters, questioning Queen Fairlet. She wonders why her presence is needed at a time like this. Gunther apologizes, realizing he forgot to introduce the newcomer. Fairlet introduces her younger twin sister, Anemone, leader of the warriors. Ike's entire party is shocked to learn the two elves are twins. Anemone states she cannot stomach joining forces with the demon army. She directly asks Ike if he has a way to win this war. Ike asks about the size of her division. She says about 200. He is told they're all masters of both magic and the bow. He falls silent, considering the small number of their forces. He assures the sisters that despite the odds, there's a way to win. Fairlet leans forward, asking him what that way could be. Ike's eyes glint with strategic insight as he prepares to explain. A column of human soldiers is shown marching through the forest. They are a disciplined force, their faces grim and determined. They move in tight formation, their spears held at the ready. From above, their ranks seem vast and impossible to stop. A soldier on patrol suddenly halts, sensing something is wrong. He spots a lone, silhouetted figure in the dense undergrowth. The figure is an elf, a quiver of arrows on her back. The soldiers cry out, having spotted their elusive enemy. They give the order to capture the elf as she flees. The patrol gives chase, but the scout has vanished without a trace. A soldier looks around in confusion, realizing they are now lost. High above in the trees, a silhouetted elf draws her bow. An arrow flies from the shadows, striking down a soldier. The other soldiers cry out in shock and confusion at the attack. More arrows rain down, piercing their armor and felling them. Another elf appears on a branch. The soldiers realize it's an ambush. A dying soldier gasps that the elven forest is a labyrinth. Ike explains they can win by using the terrain to their advantage. The elven sisters listen intently to his unconventional strategy. A massive stone hand erupts from the ground, crushing soldiers. The humans scream in terror as the forest itself attacks them. Ike's plan is to disperse them and cut off their supply lines. After that, they will continue to break the enemy's morale. This will be achieved by repeating relentless hit-and-run tactics. The key is using the geography of the forest to surprise them. Elven warriors are shown perched in the trees, ready for battle. Anemone gives the strategy its name. It is guerrilla warfare. Days later, a lost human patrol wanders through the woods. A soldier despairs, believing they are trapped and cannot escape. The faces of the men are dirty, exhausted, and utterly hopeless. Their morale has been shattered by the constant, unseen attacks. Their once proud formation is gone, replaced by a weary shamble. One soldier hears a noise, his head snapping up in alarm. Another turns, but sees nothing but leaves falling from the trees. A lone human soldier patrols the dense, snow-dusted elven forest. He stops abruptly, sensing that something is terribly wrong. Nearby, roots erupt from the ground, silencing and binding another soldier. The first soldier turns back to his confused squad mates. He tells them that he thought he heard something strange. Looking around, he wonders where their other companion has gone. A gnarled root snakes up behind another unsuspecting soldier's head. A monstrous tree spirit reveals itself, its branches holding his captured comrades. The remaining human soldiers turn and flee in absolute terror. From the shadows, Anemone coldly tells the fleeing fools to run. Her subordinate asks if she should go and round them up. Anemone decides against it, believing it is better to let them scatter. She telepathically asks if Ike is secretly watching them again. From his study, Ike confirms he is watching to ensure their victory. He wonders how long it will take for the humans to give up. He explains his strategy. The soldiers never know when an attack will come. Their fear will build until the forest becomes a literal hell for them. He is certain that if they ever leave, they will never return. Anemone listens to his plan, her expression stern but silent. Ike hears the sound of footsteps approaching his command post. Queen Fairlet enters, asking how his guerrilla strategy is proceeding. Now masked, Ike gently corrects her. It is called guerrilla warfare. She has brought him food, certain that he must be hungry. The young queen blushes slightly as she looks at him. Ike remarks that he was hoping to see her gallant figure longer. Flustered, Fairlet insists that he saw nothing of the sort. She earnestly asks him to protect them until the very end. Ike silently closes the door, leaving with his attendant, Anemone. He stands over the covered pot the queen brought for him. Inside is a Japanese-style hot pot, a taste of his past life. Unmasked, he suddenly receives a frantic telepathic message from Lily's. Lily's complains about how long she has to hold out. She is at her limit, surrounded by a horde of human soldiers. Ike sighs, annoyed that she ignored his orders to stay away. The human commander spots Lily's and shouts for his men to advance. He gives the order to capture the exhausted succubus. Lily's looks over her shoulder in shock as the soldiers corner her. She lets out a terrified scream as the entire army charges. She begs Ike to save her from the overwhelming number of soldiers. Ike asks Anemone if there is a useful natural feature nearby. He suggests a narrow road, or perhaps a large lake. Anemone confirms a lake is close, and he asks for her ice spirit users. He gathers his commanders to explain the final part of his operation. He instructs lilies to lure as many humans onto the lake as possible. He tells Anemone their combined strength can easily drive the enemy out. With cold resolve, he asks his allies if they should finish this. The ground begins to tremble and crack as the final trap is sprung. The human mage watches the elves and demons finally reveal themselves. He chuckles, pleased that they have finally come out of hiding. He orders his army to charge, ensuring not a single one escapes. The human soldiers clash with the elven warriors in a brutal melee. An elven warrior is cut down, his blood staining the ground. The elves are quickly overwhelmed by the superior numbers of the human army. The entire forest seems to shake with the intensity of the battle. The human mage laughs maniacally, mocking their futile resistance. He gives the final, savage command to kill every last one of them. Anemone clicks her tongue in frustration as the feigned retreat begins. The elven warriors suddenly turn and break formation, scattering. The human soldiers halt, confused by their enemy's sudden flight. They shout in triumph, believing the elves are running away in fear. The entire human army gives chase with reckless, bloodthirsty abandon. Their commanders urge them onward, telling them not to let the elves escape. The commander leading the charge suddenly pulls up short, confused. He looks around, wondering what this strange, open clearing is. His men stop behind him, realizing they are on a vast, frozen surface. The ground beneath their feet begins to crack and splinter. The entire surface of the frozen lake gives way in an instant. The charging human army is plunged into the freezing water below. Soldiers scream in terror as they are swallowed by the icy depths. From the safety of the shore, the elves watch the army drown. Powerful ice spirits, summoned by the elven mages, swirl around them. Anemone is stunned, admitting she never imagined such a trap was possible. She watches in shock as the human army is utterly annihilated. From the opposite shore, the human mage screams at the piss ants. He furiously demands that they get down from their vantage point. A figure in a dark cloak takes a silent step towards him. The mage turns to face the imposing, shadowy specter. Two glowing white eyes stare out from the absolute darkness of its hood. The mage's arrogant expression dissolves into one of pure, abject fear. Sweat pours down his face as he is paralyzed with terror. He is plunged into a horrifying illusion, a void filled with writhing snakes. His mind shatters completely, and he lets out a blood-curdling scream. He turns and flees in a blind, mindless panic from the vision. Like the cloaked figure raises a single, skeletal hand. Magical tendrils erupt from the ground, binding the mage tightly. He cries out in pain and shock as he is violently captured. Thrown to the ground, he begs his own horrified men to save him. His soldiers can only stare, helpless and frozen in their own fear. He turns his pathetic pleas to Ike, begging for his life. Anemone and the other elves arrive, calling out Ike's name. Ike gives all the credit for the plan's success to Anemone. He notes the battle is not over, as most soldiers are still in the forest. But he assures the elves that he has another idea to handle them. Anemone looks confused, but Ike says reinforcements should be arriving soon. The remaining human soldiers wander the woods, screaming in terror. A horde of savage, winged lizard men descends upon them from the sky. The lizard men tear into the unprepared soldiers with brutal, bloody efficiency. The stragglers are surrounded and overwhelmed by the monstrous reinforcements. A lone soldier makes a desperate, futile stand against a lizardman's tail. His weapon shatters uselessly against the creature's tough, scaly hide. Dark, heavy raindrops began to fall, splattering against the cracked and barren earth. A powerful lizardman announced he was ordered by the demon lord to join them. Ike silently observed the arrival of his new reinforcements, his expression unreadable. Looking over the mountains, he resolved that it was time to finish this conflict. The scene shifted to the peaceful, idyllic elven village nestled amongst the trees. A voice exclaimed in awe at how fantastic the beautiful, tree-woven village was. Queen Fairlet rushed to Ike, praising his fantastic victory against such overwhelming odds. With a wide grin, Ike declared that today they would all celebrate with a party. The warrior chief anemone dryly remarked that her queen was far too excited. Fairlet insisted she was merely thanking him while maintaining her dignity as queen. Ike cleared his throat, preparing to address the victorious and assembled allies. He began by stating that today's victory was not his achievement alone. He credited Queen Fairlet, who had placed her faith in him, a demon. He also thanked Anemone and her warriors for following his lead in battle. He took a step forward, adding there was one other very important factor. He playfully suggested the queen's delicious hot pot also helped secure their victory. The unexpected compliment caused Queen Fairlet to blush deeply, completely flustered. An attendant nervously asked Ike if he might reconsider the agreed-upon compensation. But Fairlet once again offered her body, much to her attendant's collective horror. The scene transitioned under a bright, cloudy sky, signaling a change of location. The victorious Eighth Army had returned to their home base, the city of Ivalice. The once war-torn plains outside the city walls were now quiet and still. Elegant, rose-adorned shoes stepped onto the dusty ground outside the fortress. 3 cloaked travelers approached the imposing main gate of the demon-held city. A lizard-man guard on the wall noticed the approaching figures with suspicion. A guard challenged the silent, cloaked visitor to state their name. The guard recognized her, identifying her as Alistia of the White Rose Knights. Alistia revealed her face, declaring she had come seeking an audience with Ike.